Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the MadCast Live. I'm your host, Madcap, where I'm here to talk about movies and call out Hollywood's bullshit, mainly Disney. But today's going to be an interesting exception. So, today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the Transformers film franchise series. And who I have with me at this moment is a very special guest. He goes by many names. He is neither Decepticon or Autobot. But you may follow him on YouTube as well. His name is Trans Theories. And
Hello,
he,
hello.
yeah, go for it, dude.
Oh, I wasn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if I was supposed to talk or not. But hey,
But yeah, well, just kind of to break the ice a bit, I will say your contribution to the trans community has been rather admirable.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with the franchise and just wanted to make it a little bit better.
Yeah, and by doing so, you done a good service by writing out the story themselves rather than the writers who are paid top dollar to you know do it for fucking Michael Basic. But anyways, yeah. So your channel, if you guys aren't familiar with Trans Theories, he is a film theorist, content creator who's done many videos that blew him up to 100K subscribers, which I find pretty fascinating. But yeah, you're pretty much your gist of of your channel is just kind of addressing like the plot holes, inconsistent like Transformer character designs, and many logical issues with the Transformers franchise. By making like little film theories about what could have gone to what could have gone with this decision and why they left it so blank for the audience to interpret. But the funny thing is, it's just like in a world where like, especially nowadays when people are like so up in arms about franchises and all that, especially with Star Wars. Because I recall like when the Last Jedi came out, people were just like pissed about why the movie was bad, but mainly they're defenders that say like, well, it's just your film theories weren't accurate, so therefore that invalidates any opinion. Because I recall like why I'm jumping to this tangent because I recall that regarding your channel and it's like I was watching like a Mahler podcast episode about about his bad takes about the Last Jedi, and at the same time, he's just as much as a troll as he is, any reviewer with bad takes about a film that's pretty bad. But he once quoted like, this movie is so bad to you guys because your fan theories were so sloppy and stupid, but my fan theory was correct, so therefore the movie's great. It's kind of like um, what's kind of like juvenile, but mainly just when we watch movies, just as a whole, and just in general, like we like to speculate things because what we get out of movies, especially if they're left open ended, we just they're left for us to interpret like what could go next, or in like a complete story like the first season of Stranger Things, like what more could we say about what we just saw, what we experienced as like a complete whole story that we were so fascinated by, like because you have like a lot of intrigue in many properties or pieces of media that leave us open ended for a lot of conversations. Why a lot of people who are into movies have these conversations, and therefore it's a great opportunity to like have you on board for this episode, and just to talk about Transformers and just the roots of your
Yeah.
channel, man. But how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. As I spoke with you earlier, finished the voiceovers for my next project, and I mean, just taking a day off, and I appreciate you putting me on the podcast. It's a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for coming on board because I've withheld on this for quite a while, but it was first announced. Well, not first announced, but I first emailed you about because I really like your channel and stuff, and I was really fascinated
Appreciate
by
it.
some of your videos, dude. And it's funny that one of the first things I ever commented on your video is just like it's just like one of your many videos is like, why does this happen in to this Transformers character? And me, I just flat out responded with because written and directed by, no, sorry, because directed by Michael Bay and written by Aaron Kruger. That's why. That just sums up the
Yeah,
theory. But
basically.
I really like some of your stuff, dude. Especially because one of the other comments I left is just like with your position and with your channel, you yourself can make up a better story that I don't think it wouldn't take like hundreds of thousands of dollars for someone to pay you, dude. Because I feel like anybody who's a fan of stuff will willingly like not really take the money, even though yeah, money talks. Money is big time, and
Yeah.
we all gotta feed in some place, and we all gotta live large at some point. But what I'm getting to is you make up like a very good. You make up a lot of good stories that go around that revolve around these huge errors with the writing of the Transformers films. Then the writers that they hired, and I was wildly impressed by some of your videos, especially like your one of your Megatron videos. But anyways, dude, I will have to like ask you this, dude. What got you into what brought you to the roots of YouTubing? What brought you into making your channel?
Oh man, that's a funny story. Well, Transformers wasn't the first thing. I actually had two channels before what I did. One was, it all started out with Minecraft, back when Minecraft was the big thing, hopped on that bandwagon under my mom's account. And then, my mom lost her account. So then I had to make it all over again. And I had a channel called Jason TRSM. And from there, I just do cringy video. I mean, well, it's still up and it's just cringy, but it got me into the editing style I kind of do today. For then I did for fun. And then eventually, I always had a passion for Transformers. So I eventually stopped a Minecraft channel because, kind of got burnt out. I was done. And it came up because, I was thinking of all these questions. My first video, actually, would end up doing was by Bone Crusher, Blackout, and Brawl return or their CGI models. And I was like, oh, well, why does Blackout is now Grinder? Or why does Brawl appear in Dark of the Moon for 5 seconds? Right? And then I'm looking on YouTube. And there was this guy, and I can't remember what his channel name was. I can't find it. But he was the inspiration and who kind of did theories. Like he would do wrecker survival theory or something like that. And then I found the Fire Brothers channel, who was also a big inspiration, who basically did the same things I did. And then from there, I'm like, you know what? Well, why don't I throw my own hat in the ring? These guys are doing it. And then, I did start small, talked about, inconsistency here and there. And the first theories I ever did, it's kind of more for fun. And then sometimes I would do like a cop out if I didn't know what it was. I kind of say some BS answer. But then from there, I learned it's not a good video. So I've remade those, at least the BS ones, where I'm like, oh well, you did this for this reason or some crap like that. But actually, like I did the Bone Crusher video, or did some video. Yeah, Bumblebee's hammer. I basically said something along the lines of the way he got it was because he just decided to not use it during the other films and just he wanted to decide because he had to be that Autobot again that Cade Yeager's character referred him to. So I mean that's like a bland theory. So what I revamped it is, well, he had his hammer probably on Cybertron and in World War II. So then how does he get it back in the last night if he didn't have any other film? So I'll just connect the dots. Last person he had his hammer with was of Hot Rod. He's off screen of Hot Rod in the last night for some time, so maybe they had a reunion and gave the hammer back, which is a hell of a better theory than what I came up before. So everything I push has to have like some really solid evidence, solid theory. And now people actually, I go to that so strongly, people just consider it canon, which, I mean, it's pretty awesome to hear, fan, and you want to consider my stuff canon to the film, but, it's just the best theory I want to produce for people. And the thing that makes the most logical amount of sense, because there's a lot of other theorists out there, smaller guys who kind of just did what I did back in the day, was like a cop out, but, I just say put the extra time and really hammer and think. I mean, it's kind of unfair because I've watched these movies an unhealthy amount of times to figure out the crap I come up with, but at least it's canon. And there was this character in Devastator called Buckethead, or this unknown bulldozer. He never had a name. He combined in Devastator, and he's never seen again. So I just made a theory, called him Buckethead, and now people on I don't know if you know what TFW 2005 is, but it's like a Transformers fan side making their own figure, and they just used the name Buckethead that I coined for that character. So yeah, I mean, the impact I've had is pretty interesting because I never really thought, I could coin this random character's name and then people to actually use it. It's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I definitely respect your success, dude, because your channel is booming at above like 100K subscribers, which is pretty crazy, dude. Because
Yeah.
yeah, because it always goes to show, like, to anyone who has like the best like logical sounding theories, just kind of like address the many issues from many pieces of media. Like, there's gonna be like a group of people that will say, like, that guy actually has a good point to why this, that, or the other. And the issue I have with stuff like that, especially nowadays, especially when I mentioned The Last Jedi, is just like, especially with a lot of like bad movies and stuff, it's just like people want to like put the story that they frame in their heads, that even though we see at face value what the story is, they just want to spin it into like their own narrative, to think like the movie had like this, to think like a movie or a piece of media has like this sort of complexity to it, which again I don't really agree, because I take the movie as is, and it's pretty much just all on the laziness of the filmmakers and writers behind them. But on
Yeah.
your part, yeah, you yeah, you definitely nailed down many things that the Transformers like sequels, especially, like, they were so just like, because of how bloated, how they wanted to like show more of everything that you saw before in the first time. It's just like they leave like so much to your imagination, and not in a good way, where you're just like left with, wait a minute, yeah, because like, how did Bumblebee get the hammer in the first place, or how did
Yeah.
how is Optimus like completely 100% okay, even though he was in his rusted form, to becoming like his newer form that carried out 4 and 5 in Age of Extinction. But for that, yeah, a lot of people will definitely go towards like what you identify in those movies and what you're able to like carefully articulate. And you like I said, the fun about like film theories and all that is just like, because there's like a lot of intrigue for like the best movies that exist, like Alien, for example, like just dissecting about what like the backstory about many images or elements really makes the conversation going. And and for like a lot of bad movies like the Transformers series, we just kind of like want to pick a pick apart about you know why this happened, or which direction could this have gone. And that's where
Yeah.
pretty much your theories have come in. Now, oh my god, dude, I lost my second question, but what brought you
No
into
worries.
pretty much just like talking to Transformers? You always been a fan of like the brand itself, correct?
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can remember.
Like, we go back to like G1 or Beast Wars.
Oh, well, it's funny. I'm 2003 guy, so actually was introduced to it from my mom. First thing was Transformers animated. Ah, that show, amazing. Still gives me nostalgia every time I like decide to pick a clip. But eventually, that was I think 2006, and in 2007 the first movie came out. Now, I honestly, and I wish I could remember how I felt, but at least according to my dad, he's like I was blown away by it, and I'm pretty sure I was, but I just don't remember that far back. But I mean, from there, dude, I just watched that. But a thing I do remember is Revenge of the Fallen. Now, I had a weird obsession with vacuum cleaners and how they worked as a kid, and I loved Transformers. And then you got Devastator, who's basically the brainchild of both of them because he's a giant. That thing, man, I watched that movie so many damn times. It's unreal, probably. And I would bring my whole collection down that I had to watch the movie with me, and it's fun. And then Dark of the Moon came out. Oh my god, I had the choice. I got out of school, elementary school early, and I was either had the choice to see it in the theater or watch it on Redbox, which I don't know if Redbox is still a thing, but yeah, I picked at home. I wish I picked the theater because you could see it on IMAX, but watching at home, I mean, I have so much appreciation for that film now, but just watching it back then, I really only cared for Bumblebee because, it's Bumblebee. But now, like, you see Ironhide die, and that hit hard, man. I mean, now watching those figures again, beautiful. And then I saw Age of Extinction in the theater, awesome. I mean, I know people hate Age of Extinction because Mark Wahlberg not shy, but I still kind of like it because they tried hard to connect to the original trilogy with the Autobots getting hunted down by the government. Love that concept, but then was kind of tainted by Cade Yeager. And then The Last Night came around, and I remember this in the film vividly. Okay. Now a lot of people loved The Last Night, and I respect that. It's not my favorite, but after the film, I was so hyped because I don't know if you know who the Raging Nation was. This guy was hyping up the film. He did this for Age of Extinction. Like, basically broke down leaks and stuff and his interpretation. So everybody came in thinking that this thing is going to save the Bayverse. It's going to be great. I come out because you leave the film, you have this initial hype, and you're like, you slowly think, what the heck did I just watch? I mean, the last night. I mean, Barricade's back. He shouldn't be back. And then, I mean, so many. The last night is the bane of my existence. I mean, oh my god, there's so many plot holes in it that take away from the original trilogy. I mean, Age of Extinction, yes, was a bad offender, but I mean, the last night, the whole the time travel scene where you see Anthony Hopkins' character and he's talking about Transformers within time, and you see Ironhide with his GMC top kick parts pulling a pirate ship. How the hell is that possible? You know, it's just stuff like that is just what gets me. And I mean, I know I'm kind of railing off your original question, but yeah, just been a fan since ever. And then just seeing all that crap, somebody had to fix it. You know, like Thanos says, oh, fine, I'll do it myself. And then here I am somehow with 110,000, which I can't even comprehend that number, really.
Like, if I picture you like as a kid when you're watching Revenge of the Fallen, you're like, oh, and then Dark of the Moon comes out, and you're like, oh, stuff is happening, but it's awesome. And Age of Extinction is like, oh yes, this is my shit. But yeah, because you know, when you're pretty small, like there's barely like a distinction of memory of like you know the first movie you ever saw in theaters, or if you could remember fragments, because that's what it is when you're like if you're in my age or in your current age. It's like you know you want to remember that first movie that kind of like brought you into that sense of wonder, but you can only pick up fragments, which I can totally understand because it's very hard to like picture yourself when you saw like the first Transformers. Was that one of your first movies that you saw when you were that age?
I think it was, at least according to my dad, but I really don't know. I don't remember actually. I don't even know if we saw it at home or saw it in the theater. I'm pretty sure it was the theater, but I have zero recollection of that.
I see, dude. Yeah, because I'm not. I wasn't a Transformers fan at all when the first movie came out. But when the first movie came out, I wasn't really like looking to watch it just because you know it looked like a pretty awesome movie. I just wasn't really that into Transformers because I was in grade school and I grew up with some friends and you know they would just constantly bash like Transformers because that was back then when anime was blowing up, where you had stuff like Mobile Suit Gundam. That was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
popular. Yeah, the figures, the toys were pretty big for like a lot of kids that grew up from like from the '90s to the 2000s. So my story when I first saw Transformers and what hooked me in was I this is a funny story. So I went to go see another movie before Transformers came out. It was a little sequel. I'm sure people have probably heard of it, and if they have, you're already going to despise what the film I'm going to explain. I'm going to call out. It was a Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Oh,
Yeah, so this was like a weird tradition back in like the late 2000s because my whole family would go to the movies most of the time, and there was that one occasion where you know because it was just not just myself and my mom. I had my siblings with me, and my oldest brother had some friends with our party, so we would just split ourselves to watch our own movie that we choose to watch. So myself
mm.
and my youngest brother went to go see Rise of the Silver Surfer, and my mom and my sis, I think they went to go see Evan Almighty, and this is back in 2007. So the movie climate wasn't so big that summer. And my brother and his friends went to go see Knocked Up, and it was around the time at the scene where Galactus, or quote unquote Galactus, is approaching Earth, like that wide shot where you see that cloud approaching Earth, and then all of a sudden the movie just fucking blacked out. Like the whole theater blacked out, and it wasn't just the theater; it was just the whole block that occupied the theater that had a power outage. So
I see.
it was very surreal because like is this a product of the movie? But no, it was a legit blackout. So the theater staff gave us all free tickets because our movies were cut off, and myself and my brother went to go see Transformers on the 4th of July with our free tickets, and by the end of the movie, I was fucking blown away, and I was at age 14. So that movie just fucking blew my mind because it was cool seeing the fucking robots like how when you're looking at the movie today, just how realistically they were able to
Yeah.
like come up with those effects and how they rendered those robots and how they blended with the real world practical elements in that movie, and that was fucking great. And I dug the
Beautiful,
story.
dude.
But you know, it's funny though for people who like or dislike the first Transformers movies. It's not like the fucking robots fighting. It's the one image that fucking captivated a lot of people and pretty much just like woke up everyone's like pubescent nature um, if they were able to catch the movie. So I'm gonna pull up here. So it was mainly just this image that caught everyone's attention about Transformers, which was Megan Fox bent over the fucking whoops,
Yeah.
which was Megan Fox bent over a
Camaro.
car. So that was like a pretty iconic moment in the first Transformers movie. Yeah,
I mean, the CGI in that film, dude, beautiful. It looks better than some of the sequels. It blows my mind. It was made in 2007 and looks better than The Last Night, which was made a decade later. Like, how is that possible?
yeah. I mean, it's very well. I would say Darker Than Moon comes closest to looking as good as the first movie, if not a bit better. Even though I would say Darker Than Moon does have some very spotty moments, but yeah, like CGI, there was some weird breaks with CGI where especially when Jurassic Park blew up, that changed everything. So a lot of Hollywood studios from like the mid '90s and onwards were like exploiting the fuck out of technology, but clearly it wasn't ready then. Where you could get like CGI explosions, CGI creatures, especially that was a big leap for George Lucas when he directed the Star Wars prequels. But clearly, even though he got the technology that he couldn't do back in '77, um, it still doesn't look very good, and it wasn't ready for the time when the prequels were being made. And you could tell because the prequels themselves, I mean, despite some good practical elements in the Phantom Menace, especially, and they even used some little to everyone's knowledge in episodes 2 and 3. They really do not hold up well, and there's like a very overabundance and over reliance on CGI, and that makes it a bit cartoony. But Transformers was like the deal breaker of where CGI can go, and it fucking got there with time. Um, and it's funny though because it still pisses me off that one of the reasons why I do think the sequels suffered a downfall is because like they wanted to push more spectacle, and what led to that sort of decision was the fact that the Golden Compass won over Transformers for best visual effects, which still pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's no competition.
No, it's just like I don't know what the hell the Academy was on um, when they made that bullshit decision. Because if you look at the Golden Compass, it's no different from Narnia, but it does not look any better than Narnia. Even like the
Yeah,
final climax of that movie, it looks pretty dark, so you can hardly even tell what's going on in the Golden Compass. Whereas you got these Transformers in fucking broad daylight, like interacting with like the fucking production elements, the practical elements, and it's fucking gorgeous to look at, and I'm still fascinated about how they came up with those effects, man.
yeah,
And
dude.
it still hasn't aged a day since 2007.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the behind the scenes stuff for 2007, but how they took into the account the lighting, especially when they're on the observatory in Los Angeles. And I mean, the lighting you could see bouncing off of Optimus, or in the scene where he's like, when Optimus is running away from Bone Crusher, or I guess charging him, I guess you could or let her say, when he's like scraping up the road and you have all those particles. And that street actually didn't exist. That was all made most of it was made out of CGI to get that whole high rise thing. And they just filmed it on a regular street and just incorporated all these elements and had like a 3D camera view of the whole like CGI street and then the real street to get the lighting accurate. I mean, the amount of love and passion that they put into that, I mean, it holds up to movies that you see today. I mean, take a look at Marvel, for example. Now, no, I get hate for this, but like, take a look at Infinity War Iron Man. Now, previous Iron Man films, like Iron Man 1, the CGI, same thing. The guys who did Transformers, it looked great. But then when you look at Infinity War Iron Man, it looks, I don't know, it just doesn't look as real. And it's like, how does the CGI Transformers did then beat some movies that we have now?
Yeah, I do feel the same way, and I'm glad you pointed the Iron Man issue because I had that, I noticed that not in Infinity War, but clearly Infinity War was reserved for fucking Thanos, and he looks fucking great. But I
Yeah.
noticed like by Iron Man 3, like even the effects like took a down, like a downside of quality. Because the last time you saw Iron Man look this good, but yeah, Iron Man is one example. But like the last time you saw Iron Man look this good as the first one was, the original Avengers movie in 2012. Because what they did lose over time, and I know that the Marvel movies have like this model where they have to produce like one or two movies every year, and they're all like 150 to 250 million dollar pictures. So there's like a lot of like there's a lot of money put into these movies, but there isn't much time for them to like get the effects right before they release the movies.
That's
Um,
true.
but yeah, like from Iron Man 3 and onwards, they kind of like lost like maybe just like they didn't really put like another render cycle to make the Iron Man suit look photorealistic, and plus they kind of like lost some of the weight. And I think what's key to the weight of the Iron Man suit was like the sound design. The sound design was
Definitely.
key, especially in the first Iron Man movie, because it wasn't just like a
You know,
CGI suit. It was like a CGI suit that had like a lot of like heft. It had like again like a lot of weight. There was like a lot of like you know tension that gives the idea that this suit is interacting with like is interacting with the scene that you could believe it. But because of you know because of like the push for a lot more Marvel movies every year, for them to like build up to like the big moments like Infinity War, to the big movies. Yeah, not a whole lot of time was exercised to get the effects right. But yeah, Iron Man was like a little paved way from what we saw in Transformers, and I think Transformers. There's a lot to go back on. I mean, what do you know about like the production of the first movie?
the production of the first movie. Okay, I'm basing this all off of memory, and yeah, well, at least from the whole behind the scenes things, there's a funny thing I find. They put so much love and care. Like, remember how Bumblebee's the old beat up Camaro? They put more time and effort to like redesign the inside so it didn't look like a black husk. Because originally when they got the car, it was all black, and like Michael Bay was saying, "Oh, it looks like a black hole or something like that. You can't see." So they put so much time and effort to put the yellow, the little bee, and then like the box, right? But then they didn't put. It's I find that fun. They put that much time and passion into that. But when you get to Revenge of the Fallen, I mean, I know it's unfair because writer strike and stuff. But like some stuff in there like could have been easily explained. But I guess how about Barricade reappearing in the last night? Like I feel like they put way more love and passion to the first movie because the first movie really doesn't have that many continuity errors per se. I mean, I guess you could say the Allspark mutations all being bad, but I mean that's kind of still explained if you take into account, I guess, all Earth technology coming away from Megatron in a sense. But I mean, the first movie, in my opinion, was crafted at least the best. I mean, it's not my favorite, but I mean, continuity error rise. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head, and I actually, as this point, I can't. Probably if I dive into it again, I'll figure out something. But you compare that to Age of Extinction, like the kill cards, and like how do these characters die, and then like, or you could take example from Dark of the Moon, how Optimus now has abs, and that's never explained. The
Mm.
stuff like that. And now I know the abs was kind of explained at least if you watch the behind the scenes, saying, "Oh, it's a redesign." But then what's the purpose of those abs? Why does he have them? Why is the truck exactly the same? So how did he get those parts? So that's where I like kind of come in and try to fill that part.
Well, I could probably add to that is that Michael Bay. I mean, he wasn't really up for directing Transformers because he thinks the idea of directing like a toy brand film was a kiddie project, and he easily dismissed it. But Steven Spielberg was behind the gauntlet in holding Michael Bay because I mean, if you've seen any of Michael Bay's movies before Transformers, I mean, he had like this very hyper masculine, very overt, larger than life sort of like visionary eye to his movies. but
Yeah, definitely.
he really goes for like the most insane action in terms of like setting everything up, camera placements and all that without really like thinking about story wise what's going on. But Steven Spielberg was looking for someone to direct Transformers while he produces it, and he was looking at Michael Bay, and Michael Bay again, he wasn't really up for the idea considering he also had some stuff going on. He had like two flops in his career, which was Pearl Harbor and The Island. So Michael Bay probably had like other ideas of what his next film would be, but he wasn't really looking forward to directing a Transformers movie. But well, I guess with some convincing and going through quote unquote Transformers school by having Spielberg like have Michael Bay take a visit to the Hasbro company to look at the wealth of Transformers toys, and he saw the appeal because the general appeal about Transformers is that they could turn into anything. Like, yeah, you can associate a Transformer with like an electronic appliance or product. Because you even mentioned
Yeah.
like you thought of your vacuum cleaner as like a Transformer. I'm sure you brought that up earlier.
Hmm.
Yeah. So like the first script, it was written by like John Rogers, but the nature of the script was like too kiddie enough for Michael Bay to like give a pass on. But Spielberg hired you know writers Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orsi, and the less you know about them now, the better. But given the first movie, I mean, they didn't do a bad job. Those writers. Um, Spielberg's goal was in hiring Michael Bay, who can come up with these very complex action sequences, was perfect to direct a Transformers movie, and so there were like some changes to the Transformers design that led to like a backlash with the fan base. Like people were pissed off about how Megatron, Optimus Prime looked, because they weren't really going to
Oh
go with like
yeah.
the G1 designs. Even though now with Bumblebee, I mean that's pretty open for Hollywood to go back to that faithfulness of the G1 series. But yeah,
Looks
uh,
beautiful.
yeah, it does look great, and I think it looks better than the character designs you know in the Bayformers lineup. But yeah, so yeah, there was like a lot of like backlash in terms of like the pre-production phase, including the designs of the Transformers. So there was like there were some changes were made just to make sure that because the push was they want to make the robots look real as possible, which is why the effects in the first movie looked pretty amazing to this day. So they wanted to make sure like all the parts were designed to serve as this part or like um, sorry, they want to serve as this part for like whatever vehicle that they're going to transform into. And I would probably say like in hindsight it's probably like a weird uncanny valley sort of method, but in terms of like the result and what you get out of the first Transformers movie, I mean it worked out to in that direction. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so first time watching it, I mean, we already covered that, but you were pretty much at a young age, so you don't really remember much out of it. But when I saw the first Transformers movie, I was fucking blown away again. And there were times where I would just catch it on cable, and by the time I started college, I collected the Blu-ray, and I was just like, I wouldn't stop watching the movie even before Revenge of the Fallen came out because it was just that you know eye changing of a movie experience that I had. That you always want to go back to that experience of when you first saw like a special movie. That pretty much like the goal with every like blockbuster is just not just like appealing to just the widest mainstream audience. There are movies like Star Wars and like Jurassic Park that just kind of like they bring that child out of you in terms of like being all of these robots. And so it's just like yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch, and I still revisit it as often as I can. But um, what are your opinions on the first Transformers movie today? Has your passion changed, or do you have any issues with the movies? Well, sorry, the first movie.
First movie. Well, my passion hasn't changed. Like I said, I mean, I've been involved with this since as long as I can remember, and I'm still doing it now, and I don't see myself retiring at least until I cover every little nick and cranny of the Bayverse that needs to be fixed. But my opinion on the first movie, I mean, it's been a little while since I watched it, so but looking back on it, for what I remember still, I mean, around a couple months ago when I watched it with my friend Alvi, it's fun, it's fun. It's just, yeah, it has a few corny jokes there, but like how they did Optimus and Megatron, at least Optimus's character, at least it gets broken in the later sequels, but he didn't want to kill Megatron. They kind of tapped into that G1 aesthetic for Prime until they went all murder and psycho. But like stuff like that, and then like how there's a scene, and I love this, a little detail where Frenzy is ahead, and he comes out of Michaela's purse, and but then there's like a fish and a fishbowl next to him, and he gets scared of the fish, and little details like that, or when Frenzy is like typing on a barricade's computer thing because he's like a cop car.
Mm.
And I mean, it just has so much fun little moments in that movie. It just brings, every time I watch it, brings a big smile. And then you just see, of course, Megatron gets killed by the cube. I mean, yeah, I wish it was Optimus, but I mean, it makes sense because, Optimus didn't really want to kill him. But I felt like it should have been given to at least a Transformer, not really Sam, who should have killed Megatron.
Yeah, because well, that kind of like writes itself out considering like the thing that killed Megatron ends up bringing him back. So that's like another like rabbit hole to dig into. But
Yeah, I mean,
I mean to apply my standards with movies to the first Transformers movies, it's not a great movie. I wouldn't say it's terrible in terms of like Michael Bay because I think Please Rewind said it best. It's just like Steven Spielberg saw that sort of style that Michael Bay was known for, and Michael Bay was trying to take that style and bring it into like a more mainstream sort of appeal or push direction with the first Transformers movie because the first Transformers movie is essentially just like a teen coming of age romance with Sam and Michaela, while you have
yeah.
like this close encounters. We have all these plots connecting for this big moment, this big monumental event for these Transformers to show up, and you also have like the military industrial complex stuff with like with the soldiers and John Voight's
Yeah.
character. And my biggest, I would say my biggest issue with the movie is that it does take a long time to get to the Transformers, which you got like an hour in,
Yeah.
and it's just like it does jump in between too many subplots because not only you do have like the soldiers and Sam, you also have like the hackers who are uh, deciphering the Transformers language that they caught from the Qatar attack. And that stuff's really uninteresting. Even though I will say in hindsight they're much better characters than any supporting character in the sequels, as far as I know.
Leo Spitz.
Yeah, it was essentially like one of those characters. Is like, man, I do miss Anthony Anderson because it is the
Yeah,
same
I
fucking
mean,
character. This is like it's the same fucking like geek. Well, Michael Bay's version of what he thinks geeks are like, and it's a very shallow view. And they're also like conspiracy theory winging, like sort of like nutcases. Same with Totoro. Same with fucking Ken Jeong in the third movie, Deep Wang. It's just
oh,
like they're all
Deep
the same
Wang, my
fucking
God.
character, and they get more annoying and stupid as the sequels come along. But back to like back to the first movie. I mean, it's a much fun. It's a pretty fun movie. I can still watch it, and unlike the sequels, like they still have like that emotional pathos going on. Because when it stops doing like the jumping around between subplots and the stupid comedy, it does have like a moment of genuine levity and seriousness in the situation, which I felt like with Dark of the Moon, I was hoping like they would go there, but they don't really go back to that route that made the first Transformers movie pretty legitimate in terms of like why I got into the movie in the first place. But I still find the first movie pretty fun, and and I do like that last stinger at the end with Linkin Park, and
Oh, yeah.
and it depresses me too because it's such a great little opener for a sequel, but then considering what follows, it's like, uh, yeah,
I mean, I can understand. Yeah, most people. I mean, I have a bias for Revenge of the Fallen. I know it's bad for most people, but I love that film to death. Okay, I've watched that. I would easily say at least 50 times on the Blu-ray DVD. I mean, it's yeah, I know. Writer's strike and everything that went down that film. It was a development hell, but I mean, it has its moments. It has its moments.
do you think do you think the other sequels? Do you think Last Night stuff because of the writer strike?
There was no writer's strike for that. That film,
Exactly.
the whole deal with that was they wanted to build a writer's room, and it's funny because there's a behind the scenes thing. They get all these Marvel writers and everything, and Michael Bay basically told them, "Oh, I'm going to take you to Transformers school. I'll tell you everything you know." And funny, the ironic thing is the movie made no sense to the other sequels, but the thing that gets me the most, it really, instead of just making the best script, because they wanted to make, I don't know if you ever seen that there was a title on like some what's it called, news pages that they were posting saying, oh, we got 14 Transformer scripts in development. Now those of course never came to fruition because the Last Night almost bankrupted Paramount. But the thing is, it really was, what is the craziest idea we can get to Michael Bay? And the Last Night was supposed to be two films. It was supposed to be a World War II solo film and then the sequel to Age of Extinction. And Michael Bay's like, oh, well, how about we do both? And that's why it's just, it's a mess. It's a mess that, I mean, look, there's only very few things I like about The Last Night. I like Onslaught, but I mean, wasted character. I like his design. I mean, we could have got the Combaticons, but, you know, wasted opportunity right there. And it's just, you got Mark Wahlberg's acting. Okay, I don't know if you noticed this, but I swear, Mark Wahlberg I've heard he's a great actor in other things, but Transformers, especially The Last Night, it was for the paycheck. And he said even if there was a sequel for The Last Night, he said Mark Wahlberg came out saying, oh, he's not going to do it because Michael's not attached to it. So then that would have made a whole nother, you know, plot hole if they would do Rise of Unicron, which was scrapped overall. Because then you got Cade Yeager, he's gone. And you kind of need Cade Yeager. And if Mark Wahlberg's not reprising his role, then it would have made even a deeper pit of stuff. And I mean, I love the Bayverse, but I mean, it had to go eventually. It just became a pot of things that just couldn't hold up.
Yeah, I think the writer span is just like, yeah, of course, you had trouble finding writers for your second movie, but you stuck with the same writer who wrote the second movie for 3 and 4, and they're still pretty bad. Then you have, oh yeah, yeah. Speaking of which, you have a lot more writers in the fifth movie, and it still sucks. So I can't really take that.
They even got Iron Man writers on that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. They had the Iron Man writers, and it still didn't come out to be a great movie or a good movie at least, because you know, again, like the idea pushing that they were going for, and yeah, you mentioned they had two different movies. Well, they wanted to like branch it out into like a cinematic universe where they wanted to like tell every story about the Transformers, because that whole hub with Anthony Hopkins where you see, yeah, like Ironhide assisting like a slavery ship or something, or like the first Transformer to assist in the underground railroad, which is fucking far fetched and stupid. They wanted to like, that was going to be like the hub to set up more movies, but you know, The Last Night was a flop.
Banked.
So of course
almost bankrupt Paramount, dude. That's terrible.
Yeah, and I guess we could probably talk more about well, that's it. Like the first Transformers. I mean, I can still watch it. It's a fun time. I don't really have that.
Definitely.
I don't really have like the hate boner because the sequels suck. Means that the first movie sucks. But I do kind of understand that sentiment. It's kind of like if you've seen the sequel trilogy and you hate Force Awakens because of what follows, then that's totally fine. But I can still have fun with the first movie because it doesn't really leave open for a sequel. It kind of stands on its own. Despite the stinger with Linkin Park, but you know, it's still a fun movie. Now we get to Revenge of the Fallen. So that was like your first legitimate experience watching a Transformers movie in the theater, correct?
I mean, I remember that one the most out of everything because basically Devastator. And like I said, I found vacuum cleaners as a kid fascinating because, you know, it sucks up things. Where does it go? When you got Devastator, who's a Transformer, and he basically sucks up this. That was the coolest thing and it's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I know. Devastator's balls were pretty awesome.
Yeah, ring ding, like run to the enemy scrotum. I'm like, why did we need that? Why did we need that?
Yeah,
And Wheelie, man, what? Oh,
that
Christ.
kitchen bot, man, with the dick gun. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was, man. And you got Wheelie humping Michaela's. I mean, stuff. That's the one thing I will agree upon. Revenge of the Fallen had too much potty humor. I mean, come on, we don't need this in the Transformers. And how about Judy or Sam's mom on weed? We didn't need that. We did not need that.
Yeah, I don't think that's how weed works, but according to Michael Bay logic, I guess you would lose yourself in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, you never see the. It's hard. It's rare to see the white boys with the dreadlocks. That's a line from the film. Like,
Oh, I fucking
I find
die.
it funny though, okay, because it's stupid, but it's like stupid funny. And how about this scene where Sam goes to college and then he gets almost raped by a transformer? Like, that's kind of, yeah. Now I know why when I was a kid, my mom always skipped over the college stuff because I was mad. Cause like, hey, I want to see the movie, but now looking back on it, yeah, I mean, how did that get the PG-13 rating? That's my question.
Well, that was weird. Was it for the reason of Sam, you know, fucking Sam getting me too'd on, but like, it was supposed to be like a much darker movie. They were gonna push for an R, but of course they can't really do that because they're like Paramount needs to bank on Transformers with as many audiences as possible. Um,
Yeah, it's like a kid's toy basically at the end of the day.
yeah, but I still find it very juvenile that he puts in all that fucking shit, especially in a movie that he's trying to gear towards children and people are willing to defend it because it's geared towards children. Then why are you defending it in the first place? That's not much of a defense
Yeah.
if you're comparing it to if you're saying that it's a kids movie. Live with that. That's not a good defense. But if I were to tell you that I hate the movie the first time, I'd probably be lying because I was very pumped for Revenge of the Fallen. Like I still rewatched the first movie on cable, and I was just like researching the hell out of Revenge of the Fallen when it was coming out, and I got so excited when the first Super Bowl teaser was aired
Oh
on
yeah,
TV.
dude, that thing was amazing.
Yeah, the fucking music choice, like it was gonna be a much darker movie, which you were convinced with, but well, that's another story. But yeah, I was like lining up to watch this movie, and just wasting my time in fucking high school. Like I give a shit. I just wanted to like be June 24th and go to the theater and watch Revenge of the Fallen. And there was a point where I was researching like the wiki article about which Decepticon, which Autobot was going to be present in the movie, and like yeah, they weren't kidding. They were pushing like a lot more Transformers characters. Like, oh shit, that's awesome. They're gonna have Devastator, this giant fucking. That's gonna be like the Pirates of the Caribbean Kraken moment for Transformers. Is just like having Devastator. Like that's pretty awesome. So I saw the movie, and it was a weird experience because there were some moments that bugged me, but I was pretty young, so I didn't really know about like criticizing movies or movies in general. But for what it
Mm.
was, I did have fun with it, and for the longest time, I was convincing myself that this isn't a bad movie because there was like this vile like hatred for the movie, especially Roger Ebert's like publishment about the movie. Like he gave Transformers the first movie like three out of 4 stars. He took out the fourth star because of the climax, which goes on forever, as he noted. But yeah, to me, it didn't really like. I think watching the climax, it's still pretty tight, despite
Mm.
some things, but it's not that long as he makes it out. And then Revenge of the Fallen, he just gives like a flat 1 star out of 4, which is pretty much like the headline title for one of his books, a horrible experience of unbearable length, as he calls it.
Yeah, I mean the final battle. It's funny because I don't know if you remember, or maybe you probably do. Like, you know how we had the forest fight in Revenge of the Fallen?
That's the only good
right?
part of the movie I can still take away is that
They were gonna
forest
have that
battle.
again for the final battle, but they just ran out of money, so they just ripped the Fallen's face off, and we're done here.
Yeah, remember this title character that has a revenge thing for something? Well, he just dies a bitch. Um,
I mean, like
but
Optimus just put him down. Like I wanted more of a fight, and we would have gotten that.
well,
And sadly,
the whole
time and
fact
money.
of like, I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but the whole like
Oh, no
setup,
worries.
like he's the last Prime, so only a Prime can defeat the Fallen. It's just like,
This is
why?
bogus.
Because it didn't seem like he put like, especially in that backstory, they didn't really put much of a fight. Those Primes, he just like ganged up on them and killed them.
Okay, there's even a bigger plot hole because of that. So if only a Prime can defeat the Fallen, And Megatron killed Optimus Prime. Does that mean Megatron can kill the Fallen? Because Megatron's not a Prime. It
Yeah,
just
because
logic breaks right there.
there's no exploration about this. It's just like weird face value piece of exposition. It's like, yeah, only a prime can defeat the fallen. And it's like, why? Why is that a rule? This
Uh,
is like,
because
yeah,
Aaron Kruger said so.
yeah, Aaron Kruger and fucking Alex Kurtzman and Bob Orsi, yeah, those geniuses. Um, so I was convinced for a while, like, this isn't a bad movie. This isn't a bad movie. But every time I finish the first movies, I have trepidations rewatching Revenge of the Fallen, and I can accept that the fact that the movie's complete shit, except for the forest fight, which is the only legitimate good part of that movie.
Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, like
Right.
back to when I was looking up Transformer appearances on the wiki articles, it's like none of these Transformers have any characters. They just pop up. They have like a
Here.
one liner, but like the biggest the biggest offender of that movie are like the twin bots.
Racist twins.
Yeah. I Here's the thing. I wasn't laughing at their jokes, but I was laughing about how the fuck did they get away with that?
Yeah, dude. I've heard rumors now. I highly doubt this would be the case with Skids and Mudflat, but apparently there's a rumor Hasbro won't make them because they're controversial. But they didn't bet. They made both of them back in 2009, and they definitely want to cash out that Studio Series money. I mean, yeah, the twins were bad. I mean, they were taken out of Dark of the Moon. I mean, they would have had a role just to get killed by Sentinel. I wish they kept that in there, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't
Because
have
if
good
you're gonna
things.
if you're gonna address it that they're racist and they're not fitting for these films for the audience, then at least yeah, like actually have the guts to like put them back in the third movie, but actually kill them off. Don't just like write them out of the movie and have people question like, well, where the fuck are our twins?
Yeah, you still see their vehicle modes very far back in the nest base,
I
and then
heard.
you never see them again.
Yeah. This is like this my main issue. It's just like even if it's a bad idea, especially from concept before execution, like you still have to make it work. Which is why the Marvel movies after Age of Ultron, because Ultron was just like it's kind of hated nowadays, but at least the Marvel movies had a way to like address the issues with Age of Ultron. They even brought back
Yeah.
like uh, you know good monologue moments, or at least address certain things, especially with Civil War and Tony's like little bit in the opening of Endgame when he goes out on all the Avengers. Because yeah, you got because if you have an idea, it's not good, and it's still not good that you executed it. You got to commit to it. You got to like make it work,
You
or
gotta
otherwise,
fix it.
just like, or yeah, or if you're gonna appease like the people who dislike it, you gotta like at least kill it off, like literally.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of would have, I guess you could say, redeemed themselves because they were so bad, and they were gonna. And the plan was, Sentinel, kills Iron, well, shoots Ironhide. Bumblebee's in shock, so he's about to shoot B, and then Skids and Mudflap would have taken the bullet for Bumblebee,
Yeah,
which is
you
still in
got
the novelization and in the comic.
you got to establish more stakes with Sentinel by having more of a death count with them.
Yeah.
Um, but it was weird. I enjoyed it the first time, but I am aware people hate it, and I can even accept the fact that it's a pretty bad movie.
Yeah,
And it's no
definitely.
no no writer no period when there's not a writer strike can fix it, because I know Michael Bay took some liberties to write out those dumb jokes. Because here's the thing, it's been common knowledge at this point is where the script wasn't ready, so Michael Bay started to shoot the film production. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, Michael Bay had to like write out ideas or introduce ideas while he was shooting the movie, which is why you have those dumb, prolonged comedy scenes that are just shoved in that serve no purpose in the movie. And plus, they even like character assassinated Sam Witwicky. Like, he's gone from like a neurotic teenager to a complete scumbag.
Yeah, like they make something. And before we get in talking, yeah, with the whole Sam Witwicky arc, you remember how, I don't know if you remember, you probably do, but like he's like, oh, I need to go to college. I don't need the Autobots. I don't need you, B. You done the Guardian thing's all done. And then in Dark of the Moon, it's like, oh, I just want to matter. You can't hang out with me anymore. Like what? What was that arc?
Freshmen aren't allowed to have cars.
Well, in Michael Bay universe,
Yeah,
I guess
according to
it's not the
him,
case.
which is bullshit because I went to two different colleges and I see fucking students driving around their cars. Yeah, you
And
don't want to take this highly you don't want to take this prestigious sports car out in your college who happens to be a pretty cool awesome fucking robot. Yeah, Sam Wicky's an asshole. He's a fucking dick.
you know, there's this kind of builds upon your point with how Michael Bay shot before they scripted. There's a thing in behind the scenes where I think it was Aaron Kruger saying, "Oh, how Michael," he's like saying, "Oh, Michael comes with all these cool ideas and he starts shooting, and then it's my job to take those scenes and make context of them in the script." And rather he not he did a good job. That's well, that's really up to anybody's guess. But it's that's why Revenge of the Fallen. That's why it just has so many plot holes in it.
Well, that's why it's the most hated of the movies.
I'd say Last Night's the word, in my opinion.
I must say, compared to Last Night, it makes Revenge of the Fallen look like Infinity War.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going with the first three films, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's the worst out of the three.
It really is. And um, holy shit, I lost my train of thought again. Yeah, like it's it's hard to even give a shit about Shia LaBeouf because, you know, like it's impossible to not buy the idea that this kid can get with the hottest girl like in his class in the first movie, but to actually like cheat on the fucking girl that you worked your ass to get with a fucking she-bot is just like fuck you, dude.
Yeah, that made no sense. Like, it should have been like because you see Sam saying no, but then when Michaela opens the door, it looks like Sam was like all down for it. But like that's the thing. Like, why would you make him do that?
It was not
Kind of
only
breaks
that,
character
like,
right there.
it's a very brief shot, but it was in that like that dance club, that little fraternity party scene is where
Oh,
he meets the Alice character, and and Alice pushes him against like the punch bowl, and the next shot
yeah, in the
after,
chair.
yeah, and then after the next shot when Michaela is just like seeing that Sam isn't like connecting with her live, you see it's a very brief shot because it just pans away. You see Sam dancing with Alice.
Oh, I've never noticed that.
Oh, you could definitely see that, dude. It's barely like a frame. It's like a blink if you miss, but yeah, like the next shot after the Alice encounter in that party scene, you can clearly see them dancing. It's
Oh,
like
I gotta
fuck
take a look
you,
at that.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like fuck you, dude. Now I would kind of say the sequel was became a result of the downfall of
Or how about the
Shia's
whole "I
career.
love you" arc in that thing?
Oh god, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Forget
stupid.
about that because Sam Witwicky has a new girlfriend in the third movie, thus rendering that whole romantic arc pointless.
Yeah, I mean, in the first movie, they made this whole big point of Sam building, say, "I love you" to Michaela. Like, Michaela, like, there's a scene after like Bumblebee kills the kitchen bots, and like instead of saying "I love you" back to Michaela, Sam's like, "Oh, I adore you," and it's like, what? What happened there?
Oh yeah, in that moment you can clearly see the cameraman shadow on the back of I think it was Megan Fox or Shia, but yeah, it's a pretty rushly done shot where you can clearly see the cameraman shadow. Red Letter Media pointed
Yeah.
that out when they had like their holy trinity of Transformers watch that you could find on YouTube. But no, well, mainly it just goes to show that because of Sam's, being open to any lady in college is just like it's mainly on the dad's fault because the dad's a real dick in the opening of Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
isn't
very
he like,
inconsistent
"Oh, well,
too.
you got to branch out,"
Yeah, it's
basically
very
saying he has to
inconsistent too
branch out from
because
Michaela or something like that?
yeah, it's very inconsistent with the first movie because when the parents meet Megan Fox, the dad like fist bumps Sam, but then in the sequel he's just like, nah, you gotta let go of Michaela. You gotta like find more women because that's what college is like. Fuck the
That's
both of
not
them.
a good message.
No, it's not. Well, at least it's better than letting the kids drown in Man of Steel, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, but yeah, so um, at the time where I was kind of sold into both movies, I was very shocked to read that Megan Fox was like let go of the third movie.
Oh yeah, the Hitler thing.
Yeah, which well, it wasn't only that. It was just like you could tell like in shots of what Michael Bay was directing Megan Fox to do. It's just like, yeah, you could tell Megan Fox wasn't really like in. He wasn't really all for Michael Bay's like handling of, you know, of everyone on set. So, but yeah, just to lose like a core cast member, like for the third movie,
Yeah,
that was depressing.
and the sad thing is, Carly's arc is literally meant for Michaela. Besides, when she meets Sam, like the whole confronting Megatron, working at a play at like the car place, like that would have been perfect for Michaela, and then they just gave it to Carly, which I mean, yeah, you couldn't do. That's a big gripe with Dark in the Moon. It's my favorite, but it would have been better if you had Megan Fox. And there's
Yeah,
even
the
there's a
script is
picture of her on set next to the Dark of the Moon Bumblebee car, which I've seen the image and I want to know context, but I can't find any information about it online.
yeah, the script is no different with Rosenhunt and Whitley. It's just like it's Michaela because you know the film opens with them already in a romance, so it seemed like they've been together for a long time, and then there's like this passing dialogue of like, oh, my previous girlfriend dumped me, or they even try to like poorly flesh out her backstory with like her brother who died in the war.
And like, wasn't she working for like she was like an assistant under like at the White House or something? And like that's the only reason why they dated because like Sam, you see him getting a medal from Obama, and then he like breaks a lamp, and then Carly's there, and then like that's how your relationship started.
Yeah, this girl is everywhere, dude. She's way too good for him. She's like the Grace Kelly to his James Stewart. That's a Rear Window if like reference if anyone didn't get that. Alfred Hitchcock's
Yeah,
Rear
I did.
Window. But yeah, I was very depressed when Megan Fox left because you know, yeah, because why wouldn't you be sad about that news
Is the
breaking
main
out?
character gone?
Yeah, because like, how the hell are they gonna like make the third movie? Even though people, the reason why people, especially guys, went to go see like the first two movies is because of Megan Fox. They like the sex appeal of Megan
Oh
Fox.
yeah, definitely. You know, I had a guy in class. He's like, "Oh, you do the Transformers stuff." Like, yeah. I'm like, so I just tried to break that. I say, "Hey, you watched the first one?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why'd you watch it?" The exact same reason you just said.
Yeah,
Like, just all from Megan Fox. I mean, so you didn't watch it for the characters? Oh no, no, it was just for the sex appeal. I didn't say sex appeal, but you know, yeah, that's a big. That's how Michael Bay gets his thing, man. It's the three B's as they call it. Booms, butts, and boobs, right there.
yeah. John Turturro's butt, especially, dude. That's a lot of sex appeal.
Oh my God! Please don't remind me of that. I always wanted to be an astronaut. I mean, how the hell does he rip his shorts off like that? I want to know.
how the hell does the fucking Smithsonian turn into Arizona?
Oh yeah, the whole backyard. You have all writer's strike. There's the explanation.
Yeah. Hey, Michael Bay, you got this moment here where like they're from the Smithsonian, now they're in Arizona. I'm like, fuck you, nerd. Just shut the fuck up. Let me make my movie. That's pretty much like
I've
Michael
seen that
Bay's
meme.
mentality when he makes a movie.
Ah,
Hey,
yeah,
Michael
yeah,
Bay.
that's another thing.
Yeah. Hey, Michael Bay. Why couldn't you train astronauts to be oil drillers instead of oil drillers becoming astronauts? Ben Affleck, shut the fuck up. That's always been that way, dude. That's how he does it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from, definitely, and I guess you know. So well, now I'm losing my train of thought. I was gonna say something about because you brought up Buzz Aldrin or something, or Ben
Well,
Affleck. I
I'm
don't
about
know
to
why
head
I got
into
Buzz
Darker
Aldrin
the
from Ben
Moon,
Affleck,
so
but speaking of Buzz Aldrin, though, I mean, he made a cameo in the third film, which I found pretty awesome.
yeah, he's actually the guy who wants to be there, and he does seem like a character, even though that is Buzz Aldrin, but he seems like the most likable character out of Dark of the Moon than anybody else. Like he like clearly he's just like, yeah, in his age he's clearly told like, hey Buzz, look at this tennis ball. Now look at this tennis ball over here, just so you can get like his eye view of Optimus, right? But yeah, that's a neat little shot, little moment.
And then how about what they did? They did the Shockwave. They did him dirty, man. I mean, I love what he did, but I just felt he was underutilized. I mean, he had the big old driller, and you know could have killed, but then I don't know. They just put him out. He gets taken out by a parachute. Come on.
Well, I guess we could probably talk into Dark of the Moon, but yeah, Shockwave was like the big hype for me because you kind of recall like there was these pretty cool posters, these billboards of
Oh
Transformers
yeah, I remember
that even
those.
yeah, they even like took up like the entire billboard screen. And I was kind of fascinated by seeing Shockwave's character billboard. And it was just like, oh shit, who's this fucking character? That thing looks pretty awesome. And then you have like the first scene of him when they attack when he attacks Optimus and the Nest soldiers at
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, and he just yells Optimus. It was like, oh fuck, this is gonna be an awesome character, but oh right, yeah, he gets taken out like a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, he had so much potential. I mean, it's almost like they were hyping him up to be one of the main characters because he gets his own freaking billboard, and yet he doesn't. He gets taken out by a parachute. Come on, man.
Yeah, which is why I pitched this. Like, instead of having Sentinel betray him, I would like to see Two Primes fight out the Chicago invasion, because having another villain thrown in there, it already makes it so bloated. And then you have like fucking Patrick Dempsey thrown into the fold.
Not
It's just like,
Patrick Dempsey.
there's too much shit. There's too many characters, so of course they're underdeveloped, and of course Shockwave doesn't get much to do. He just like, yeah, he just gets a parachute dropped on him, and then everyone just shoots at him with regular guns.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, they could have used him in so many different ways. I mean, what if instead of it was Sentinel who attacked him next base was freaking Shockwave or something? Which like Sentinel's character, his betrayal. I don't know if you ever noticed this, but it's never really set up. It just kind of happens.
And
Like
like
he
I
just
said,
turns.
it
Like you don't really
negates
see any hints at all.
like I said when we were like talking before we went live. It negates Megatron's purpose in the first movie, because it's like, yeah, he went to go pursue the Allspark in the first movie, and he happened to crash into the Antarctic and froze his circuits for a long time. But somewhere, I guess, before he just kind of like jumped ship to go to Earth, he made this secret plan that was never brought up in the second film to make this deal with Sentinel Prime, who happened to be escaping Cybertron as well, and shot down and crash landed into the moon. Which, okay, how long does a ship have to like float around in space to land on the moon from Cybertron?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it depends where Cybertron was at, but with the whole thing, right? Because I guess his plan of Sentinel was they were gonna bring a Cybertron to Earth, and then humans are gonna fix it. But but what if he succeeded and he got the Allspark? Then couldn't he just use the Allspark? Then like, what if that? What if his deal with Sentinel still be a thing?
Yeah, because then that just already messes up the continuity again, among many things.
And how about the Star Harvester, where they were gonna use it to blow up the sun, and then that would have killed Earth? Like, then it negates the purpose of like.
Well, I would get that I would get that I would if there's one thing I would give the benefit of the doubt is that, like, yeah, Megatron talked with the Fallen. The Fallen revealed that there's another way to get Energon besides the cube that was destroyed. So I'll give that a bit of a leeway, because, I guess without the Fallen, Megatron wouldn't have known that there was another way to get more Energon to raise an army of Decepticons. But and also this, I will give Revenge of the Fallen credit that was actually ripped off from a episode of the G1 series.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but yeah,
Forgot which one though.
I mean, logistically, it doesn't really make any sense still. But I mean, that's one thing I'll probably give somewhat of a pass to that. But Dark on the Moon is definitely like worth picking apart, because it really makes no sense when you compare Megatron in the first movie.
And how about Megatron? Like, he's the big baddie in the first film, awesome. And then like second film, he's kind of second fiddle to the Fallen. And in the third movie, he's a hobo in the shotgun in Africa.
Well,
I mean, I love his design because he's finally an Earth mode truck. I mean, yeah, why does he have a hoodie like that? How does he transform with that? I don't know, but it looks awesome. He has a shotgun, but he was underutilized. And like, he gets killed by Optimus after saving his life, and the only reason was that is because Michael Bay thought it was cool. There was supposed to be a truce with Megatron and Optimus, and Michael Bay's like, nope, that's not happening. And that truce is still in the novelization and in the comics, and I wish we got that. It would have made Megatron's character probably better, because he lost all hope when Cybertron's done. It's like, all right, we're done. We need a truce. All I needed was to be back in charge. And I just wish we just got to see that truce play out. But Michael Bay.
Yeah, Michael Bay's thought process. And even if people are gonna, I still think it's kind of cool that he kills him. But even if you like that scene, again, Age of Extinction already retcons that by having him as Galvatron or quote unquote Galvatron. So yeah, like why couldn't you just have like both enemies part ways at the end of the third movie? That would have been pretty cool. Because then that would have opened up like another possible storyline of like expanding on their their rivalry, their conflict.
I mean, yeah, that was. I wish they took that route. I mean, how about the whole thing, which was funny? I don't know if you ever. I noticed slightly forward tracking, but for the last night, another big hype was going to be like, oh, we're going to explain Optimus and Megatron's backstory, and that you only get one line in the last night. We were brothers once. Prime's like once, and he kicks him out of the thing. Like we could have got that in Dark of the Moon, or well, I guess Age of Extinction would have been a completely different film if they kept Megatron alive, and that avenue is just you could have done so much, and it just wasted.
Yeah, no man, I couldn't agree more. But you were just excited to watch the third movie as you were with Revenge of the Fallen when it was coming out, right?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I was hyped. It's Transformers, dude. I mean, back then I was a Bumblebee fanboy. So, I mean, right now more sophisticated breaking down it. But like when I was a kid, I just wanted to see the robots fight each other basically and see Bumblebee on screen.
Yeah, like, well, with Megan Fox being kicked out, I wasn't really sold into the third movie until, again, same story as Revenge of the Fallen. The Super Bowl teaser kind of hooked me back in because it was cool. Like,
Oh, that
yeah,
thing was amazing.
yeah, the Transformers are fighting in this city, and it's kind of like a throwback to the first movie, having that whole fight in L.A. Oh yeah, speaking of which, how the fuck can you cover up a whole fucking fight that happens in L.A. in Revenge of the Fallen?
The U.S. government. That's how.
Yeah, it's the power of the U.S. government, man. It's the Men in Black.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many witnesses, and they covered it up like, and you kind of see hints of that in Revenge of the Fallen, like, oh, these robots who fought in L.A., and it's like, oh well, oh that never happened. Like Sam's character. I mean, you couldn't cover that up. There's too many people who saw Optimus, Megs. I mean, the government can't bribe everyone, but apparently they did somehow.
Yeah, so many people died in Metropolis. Oh no, wait. Zack Snyder said only 5,000 lived. I mean, sorry, only 5,000 died.
Yeah, there's no way.
Death of the author. But Dark of the Moon, dude. Yeah, I was kind of like taken back again because yeah, seeing that this Transformer invasion happening in Chicago and you got like a whole cityscape under fire, kind of threw me back to like Halo Reach when I was playing that level where you're evacuating people from like a cityscape in on Planet Reach when the full scale force of the Covenant starts to take over the planet. I'm not sure if you're a Halo fan. If you are,
Um, I'm not a Halo fan, but I've kept up with bits and pieces of the lore, so I generally know what you're talking about.
okay. But this was so the DreamWorks credit doesn't show up here. It's all under Paramount, and I think they kind of like ended like that partnership between DreamWorks and Paramount. And this was Michael Bay's jump into 3D post Avatar. Um,
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, I want to keep 3D alive.
yeah, well, he knows how. I guess he know to his credit, he does shoot 3D better than most filmmakers, and he does the job better than most post conversion 3D movies. Even though I think like yeah, 3D at this point, like no one even
It's
mentions
obsolete.
3D. They're like it's already a bust. So there's like a lot more push for like 2D IMAX now because no one gives a shit about wearing fucking glasses that are going to press on your head for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of just a random thought, but like, how about Optimus's degression into like a psycho? Like in the first movie, he clearly held back, and in the second movie, he's like he kills the Decepticon. What's his name? It's Demolisher. Like he's bent under the barrel. He can't do anything. You just execute him. He rips off Grinder's face, and he like rips off the Fallen's face. Like, and in Dark of the Moon. I mean, yeah, people want to see Sentinel died because he killed Optimus, but then still, Sentinel's under the barrel, and Optimus at least G1 Optimus, if you go in his character arc, would never do this. And it's bad because even Peter Cullen came out saying some of the lines in these films were hard to say because it's just not the character of Optimus. And when the voice actor says it, you know it's bad because you have a Dark of the Moon Optimus saying, "I'm gonna kill you." Like, come on, man, that's not Optimus.
Yeah. Um, well, here's what I'll say to that. Like, okay, so when you're taking like, yeah, this property that's been known to have like this long-standing cartoon series from the '80s, where it's yeah, like all the episodes are mainly just like yeah, Saturday morning cartoon of the day, where you're not gonna have characters die, um, in every episode, or characters are gonna like you're gonna have villains parting ways without any like sort of like collateral defeat. What I'm trying to get into is that like yeah, they're trying to add stakes, which I'm okay with. So if you want to have Optimus like kill Decepticon, or if you want to have like a Transformer character get killed, I mean it's mainly just there to set up a stake. Like the big fuss
Yeah.
with the first movie was, people got pissed when Jazz died, but and I know Jazz is a pretty popular character from the G1 series, but it was there just to set up a stake and to show how powerful and imposing Megatron is, and you know, uh, yeah, just what these Autobots are risking to get, just to save humanity, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, big time, dude. I agree with you. Like by the fourth movie, especially the fifth movie, where Optimus is just like fucking cold, mean, relentless, like fucking bloodthirsty killer.
Yeah, I mean,
Status
I'm
at that
fine if
point.
Optimus killing Decepticons, because it's war, you're gonna have casualties. But the way he does it, like, this ain't Mortal Kombat.
Fatality.
I mean, like, didn't he, like, in the third film, he digs into Shockwave's face just to pull his eye out, and then, like, shoots off his gun. I mean, he did Shockwave dirty.
Yeah,
He
how
don't
does that
do
even work? Because guns are part of Transformers' bodies, so where's the trigger?
I don't know, man. Stop poking holes in a perfect film. I love that line.
But this was Michael Bay's like first jump into 3D, and the complaints with like the first two movies is that because he has that very fast moving kinetic like way of filming where things move too fast, like the 3D system actually like had him slow the fuck down for once, and it led to some pretty good photography and visuals in Dark of the Moon. I think Dark of the Moon like it's pretty much like the best photograph of like all the Transformers movies,
Oh, yeah.
in my opinion. Because there
Yeah,
were
I
some
mean,
good shots where Michael Bay actually takes his time with his camera and doesn't go crazy and overboard, and it goes back to a more intimate place like the first movie, even though this is still like a pretty bloated $200 million product as a sequel. But he limits himself with very less locations, which is why you have that location editing continuity issue with the Smithsonian shit in the second movie.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why it's my favorite. It has all this cool stuff, and it's not. They definitely cut down on the potty jokes. I'll tell you that. I'm trying to think of something that was in there. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, you have Deep Wang, but I
Yeah,
mean, really,
well,
besides that, what
you
else did
replace
you
the
have?
potty
I
jokes
mean,
with dick jokes.
oh yeah,
Yeah, where fucking Ken Jeong sexually
Deep
harasses
Wang.
Sam Witwicky to give him information instead of just like, hey Sam, I know this information. Here's a briefcase. Here's a secret file. Keep it out of sight. It could have been that, but Michael Bay again turns it into a fucking like, oh hey, look it, sexual harassment is funny.
Yeah, I mean, the way Wang did that, it doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of funny, but it shouldn't be funny. I just have a bias because of Dark of the Moon. I mean, and you see him get thrown out the window too. Like, how does that work? You see him get thrown. He gets pushed through two plates of glass before he falls. Like, why is there two plates of glass in his office when in the earlier shot there's only one, which is the window, but there's one before? I want to know that explanation, but we're never getting that.
I didn't notice that, but yeah, it's good. Ken Jeong dies because I think his career track in comedy was dead by the second Hangover.
Yeah, you really don't hear much of him anymore.
No, because they kind of like stopped doing that. They stopped exploiting Ken Jeong for the same sticky comedy that That really it wasn't that like it wasn't that fucking prominent in the first Hangover, but then because that movie was a success, they wanted to like they really wanted to amp up that stereotype, and so they played it there in uh, in Dark of the Moon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it as bad as well, it's not as bad as what we got in Revenge of the Fallen. I mean, how about the
It's just as
Leo
bad.
character? I mean,
There's still like a lot of
well,
pointless
how well, Leo
characters.
tased his own nuts with a freaking taser, which makes no sense.
No, it's just as bad, if not worse, because you still have like a lot of characters that really did not need to be there. You didn't need John Malkovich in that movie whatsoever. You didn't need yeah, you really didn't need all that stupid comedy that again Michael Bay thinks that, because the movies were a success, people love that comedy.
Apparently, man.
Which I'm not a fan of him, but I think Chris Stuckman put it pretty tuned there where it's just like he misrepresented what people liked about that first movie.
He took the wrong cues.
Yeah, or sorry, not misrepresented. He misunderstood of the things that people liked in that first movie. So he thinks that yeah, Sam's parents are funny. All the dumb jokes are funny. Let's do more of that. Let's give you more.
Yeah. I'm happy they cut down on Sam's parents in the third film. You only really see them for the job interview portion, and then in the last shot before the Decepticons invade, and then they're gone.
You didn't need to. They didn't need to be there. They're just like, yeah, they're just there, having this fucking countrywide road trip on an RV. Like, you didn't need them. You could just easily cut them out. But again, that's what Michael Bay thinks people like. He thinks we like those characters.
I mean, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, definitely. I guess the only thing what that would serve, I mean, there is a scene which kind of serves for Sam to go back to Carly, which I think was Judy who told him. But I guess it kind of wraps up those characters as the last time you see them as a farewell instead of just where the hell they went. If we really need them or not is, a different question, but at least gives them some closure, you could say.
It's like a bad sci-fi film. Get it? Because it's meta. Um, but yeah, I mean, Dark of the Moon. I think what I can say for that movie today is just like, yeah, like the Chicago stuff is pretty awesome shit, but you have to sit
Definitely.
through so much fucking dog shit to get there. Like the first hour, like again, like these movies have the same structure as the first movies. Just like, you know, there's some secret in the past. And so both the Autobots and Decepticons are at war, and so whatever's in the past is going to come to the present, and you have like Shia LaBeouf and his shenanigans for the first hour, first act, and then the second act is just like story after the first hour, and then you know then the third act is just like a big fight that takes up like 40 to 60 minutes of your time, and movie ends. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I know people criticize this part of Dark of the Moon a lot. I just find it kind of fascinating how, at least with the whole space race, they want to tie it into reality. And at least with the pyramids, I felt like they did the space race at least more because you actually see the Decepticons actively killing members. Like Laserbeak killed that one guy called Bob Singer, which is his name's only credited in the comics. And then he eventually kills Jerry, like to tie up loose ends. And he also killed that guy in Moscow. So I kind of like that conspiracy stuff, even though it's not most people's niche.
Yeah, I love how they address it. It's like, I love how they question it in the third movie. Is just like, why are Decepticons killing people? Like, have they not killed people in the past two movies? like they don't even say it like, why are they assassinating these people? They just say like, why are these Decepticons killing people? Like by verbatim, they say in that fashion, just like, well, like they always kill people. Why is this the first time you notice this? But yeah,
I
like
definitely see it.
yeah, the space race stuff is interesting in concept, but other than that, it's just like yeah, it's just only setting up Optimus Prime to find the lost
Yeah,
ship
see
and
Sentinel.
Sentinel. But that's it. Like, there's really not much value in the space race. I would say cool like moon landing scene in the opening, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
And we get to see Cybertron for like 5 minutes, which was cool, but then you never get to see it again.
Mm-hmm. There's also a
Like,
weird theory
well, you get
that's
to see it when they bring it.
there's also a weird theory uh, that Sentinel was bringing teleporting Cybertron from its point in space to Earth. I always felt like he was creating a new Cybertron.
Oh well, I thought I could be wrong here. At least my recollection darker than but I thought well at least there's a line where Patrick Dempsey says they're transporting their planet here. So like I guess the goal was and it's just it's a dumb thing. The whole thing. Oh, we like Patrick Dempsey or Dylan Gold. It's like oh there's only one natural resource we have on this planet that they can't get nowhere else. And like Carly doesn't know what it is, and he's like us. So I guess the plan was humans are going to build Cybertron, but how did they do that? If you can't breathe. I mean, I guess that part's never explained.
Yeah, and I guess their plan was to shoot down the populace in Chicago and then make the entire populace slaves.
Yeah, I guess. And then like Dylan is like, "Oh, I'm only doing it." Yeah, Dylan. He only does it for like. There's one dumb line in the film. I'm forgetting it, but he's like, "Oh, I wanted another 40 years," and I guess it's really all that. Like he thinks it's a funny thing. He thinks like even if he did help out, he's Megatron's not going to care about him. He would eventually die as well.
Yeah, yeah, that whole motivation doesn't make any sense. Like a lot of things that don't make any sense. But I will say, like, out of everybody who's not making an ass of themselves, like Patrick Dempsey comes out pretty okay.
Yeah, his character's not bad. I found him interesting. I kind of almost wish that he was even explored a bit more because his history with frickin' Soundwave and Soundwave. Yeah, I know he's not G1-ish, but I mean, he was cool. I liked. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, because again, that negates the purpose of the events of the first movie.
Yeah, like oh, there's no Transformers on Earth, but then like Soundwave has been working with you like Dylan's dad since the '60s. Like, I wish there was like a hint towards that, but we never got that.
Yeah, but yeah, like yeah, the first hour of Dark of the Moon is pretty bullshit. It's very unwatchable because I can't really, aside from the action sequences, you can't really get by watching the Sam Witwicky, the human character shit, because it just doesn't add anything. It's just like again stupid comedy that Michael Bay thinks is funny from his juvenile sense of humor. But
And I mean, that's a sad thing. Like,
yeah,
we're probably never gonna get a Transformers film centered on just Transformers.
well, I think with Bumblebee, it's alluding to something. Uh, is going to allude to something better, and we'll probably touch
I
into
hope.
Bumblebee shortly. But despite our issues with the film, I mean, it's pretty significant in Michael Bay's career because by that time you didn't have like movies making you didn't have movies making billions of dollars
Oh yeah,
every year, especially if they're owned by Disney. Dark of the Moon, like this was like Michael Bay's like moment for
top
him.
dollar.
Yeah, $1.1 billion, and I'm not trying to say like because of money means that the movie is quote unquote untouchable, but this movie was like next to Return of the King in terms of like worldwide ticket sales, and that was when Michael Bay was like he had peaked like in terms of like his status, and you think after like it's very significant to know because you think with Revenge of the Fallen with all the backlash, the negative word of mouth, and the disparaging critical consensus of the movie, it didn't stop people going to see the movies. It didn't stop people to go see Dark of the Moon because while domestically it didn't really like make as much as the second movie, but it still brought people in, and it brought like international numbers higher than the other movies. And we might touch into where Michael Bay leans into China in the fourth movie, but
Oh yeah, it
still
was
though, this
bad.
was like back then it was like top five highest grossing movies of all time, and that's pretty impressive out of Michael Bay.
Yeah, I mean, it went downhill from here definitely.
Yeah, because by that point, like, what more can you do? I mean, it seemed like Dark of the Moon was gonna be like this big finale of a trilogy, but because money talks, Michael Bay decides to make Age of Extinction. But
Oh yeah, there's a funny thing about that. The only reason, there's two reasons why he made that film, and I kid you not, this is real. There's one. The
go
first thing
for it.
was seeing how the long ass line at the Universal Studios ride, and the second one was a picture of Optimus looking like a knight. That's the literally the only two reasons why he made the film.
Hmm. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, popularity and money talks, man. Did you go on? Did you go on Transformers the ride when it first opened?
I don't know when it first opened. I know I've been on there. I know I went on it way early. Like, 'cause I don't have any recollection of the first time because my dad said that was when I came out of that ride. I was hyped. Which I mean, still when I come out of that ride, I'm hyped. Which I think is a year ago when I've been there. I still love the ride. It's just it's out. It's kind of outdated. You know, if they update the graphics, make the screen 4K, that thing would look beautiful. But for its time in 2012, that thing, at least for a lot of people, it was impressive. It made other rides. Other rides built off the back of that.
Yeah, it did what it did its purpose in 2.5 hours of Transformers, Bayformers did in just 5 minutes. But I really enjoyed the ride. I rode it in August 2012, like a couple months since it opened, and I freaking loved it.
Yeah, especially when like Megatron shoots that bullet at you and you can feel the heat. Oh my god,
Yeah,
beautiful.
fucking Optimus Prime and Megatron are duking it out. It's just the Transformers, which is what people would just watch instead of just like
It's what the
fucking
film
video
should have
games.
been.
Yeah, because they're just supporting characters. I think Brad Jones off Cinema Snob said it best. They are just supporting characters to like the human characters that are completely uninteresting and irrelevant.
They're like CGI props.
Exactly, they're just like toys. They're essentially Michael Bay's toys that he decides to pull out whenever he thinks it's cool. It's appropriate to have a cool scene.
Yeah, definitely, man.
But yeah, Transformers are right. That was a big moment for the franchise because that's when like yeah after three pretty successful movies, of course they can make a right out of that. And out of all venues, they chose Universal Studios, which I always pictured that was like the ideal. Well, of course Disney has like their own property, so that wouldn't fit with Disney. But yeah, Universal Studios, that's the ideal theme park franchise to open up Transformers to ride.
Yeah, I mean, and how about like the interactive thing with the Megatron? I mean, that like I've seen the videos where like that guy in the Megatron costume starts roasting people. I mean, it's just funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, the little queue when you're just going through. I like the little production props that they put in. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you see like the Allspark shard and Scorponok's tail, and then you like see the screens of out of all characters like Wheelie and like Ratchet and stuff. Like I would have paid so much money to get the ride in standard HD on it. Like we could just watch it on screen without the 3D effect and everything they had. I mean, I just love to sink my teeth and watch it frame by frame what they did there.
Yeah, well, on YouTube, you mentioned like if they could update like the quality. On YouTube, you could find like a good 4K upload of the ride.
Yeah, but isn't it like filmed by a camera?
No, like somebody actually. I don't know if it's just like Universal that put it out, or I don't know. I, that's another question, dude. But I did see like a good upload of the ride, but it's actually in much cleaner like quality when you see like the Transformer stuff. Or no, memory serves it right. There's an upload where it cuts between like yeah the found footage camera off your phone to like actual 4K quality of the Transformers footage projection, which is
I feel like I've seen that.
yeah, which I do agree. I wish like the projection quality could be a little bit more cleaner, especially with the
Yeah.
glasses, because it is working with the 3D projection, which is kind of complicated to like get it look pretty clean.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some shots in the ride where you could actually see it like right next to you. Sometimes it's kind of iffy, but I mean, for the majority, I mean, that's just so much. That ride is so much fun.
It is. Yeah, there were moments where I visit the park and I get like these 10-minute wait, 5-minute wait times on the ride. I'm just like, oh shit, I could ride this shit more than once, which is cool.
It makes me wonder if you think they're gonna, if they would update it, would they do it with Transformers or just replace it with something else?
No, I mean Transformers is pretty popular. I mean, it still is. Like I think the movies still sell on home video, and Paramount is just they're gonna produce more movies, but they're gonna make a rebooted series of Transformers movies off of Bumblebee. So Transformers is gonna stick
Thank
around.
God.
It's gonna stick around for a while, even though I mean it has died down because of the last night. But
Yeah.
it could bounce back. Like things like that have a bounce back, but dude, I'm just saying, like Jurassic Park,
That's what I'm open for.
yeah, Jurassic Park, like they have like their downward spiral of like not getting the success as the first movie with the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 until Jurassic World just kind of like yeah, it's just like it took time for people to get into Jurassic Park and be excited for Jurassic World, and that movie like it, it made like 1.6 billion dollars. I mean, how can you argue with that?
You can't.
Yeah. So, Age of Extinction. Shia
Oh
LaBeouf.
boy.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf is out the window. He's kicked to the curb. He's curb stomped. And so we got Mark Wahlberg and Michael Bay is back. And I think was
Yeah.
like a turning point for people who watch the movies. I think because of like the criticism of like the sequels. I think people were kind of like put off from watching the another Transformers movie. So this movie came out in 2014. It didn't really have that. If you look at the domestic, because I got it pulled up here, it's a lot. It's pretty. It's pretty low compared to the first movie, especially because the first movie was at
Yeah.
300 million. The second movie was at 400 million, a big jump, and then with a bit of reduction. I'm not sure if I'm putting that right. I mean, Dark of the Moon made like $50 million less domestically than Revenge of the Fallen, but then Age of Extinction, it's nearly by half of what Revenge of the Fallen made, and it just shows like with the international numbers. Michael Bay was playing this to China, which you can obviously tell
Definitely.
because of how calculated the movie feels. It's like he made it so dumb and so stupid because of course like people in China aren't really going to question things. They're going to take it as is. Therefore, why it's got that big boost internationally.
Yeah, I know. Like the third act was, like, I believe, if my memory serves me right, was all in China.
Yeah.
And then you see, like, it is the thing that kind of gets me. There's a shot where they're kind of pandering these Chinese officials as heroes, which, real world, that's not 100% accurate.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, China's another controversial subject, which I don't really buy with how Michael Bay views them, but I think this was a point where movies, even if they weren't doing well um, domestically in the United States and Canada, they were gonna push these movies for like Chinese release because they know that the film scene in China was blowing up with their own movies, so they wanted to push.
Definitely, yeah.
So American studios wanted to push their movies to China to see if they can get that boost, even if they don't make their money back, because that's pretty significant with movies like Warcraft, which I'm sure people have forgotten about, but that movie bombed pretty badly despite the Chinese numbers. But the China market, sold well with Warcraft.
Yeah, another big selling thing for Age of Extinction was the Dinobots. You see them in the trailer, and they're only in the movie for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, and it's the same shit with the marketing. Just like, this movie's gonna be dark. No, that movie sucked. Well, the next movie's gonna be dark. This movie's gonna be much darker. But it's like the same shit.
I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, yeah, Age of Extinction was a lot of different plot lines stuck into one. I mean, if they just focused on the whole government hunting down the Autobots after Dark of the Moon, that would have been a great film. And get rid of the whole Kate Yeager's family, or I guess, and just keep, I guess, Mark Wahlberg is like helping the Autobots as a refugee, and like it would have been a better film.
Because of Logan, I kind of wish like Transformers 4 was like the Logan of Transformers, because the K Yeager stuff isn't all that bad, because I would like it if it just took place on this farm where it's not like this huge extravagant blockbuster that just goes to many places and doesn't really have a clear focus and it jumps around constantly. Like I would like an Optimus Prime standalone story on this one location where like Optimus Prime is on the run despite his heroics in the past couple movies, and the government's trying to hunt him down, and so it's pretty much like what Bumblebee what Bumblebee executed in that movie. So it's like have this intimate human relationship with between Kate Yeager and Optimus.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy they're finally focusing more on that than just uh, like just the human characters in general. Because I feel Bumblebee, great film. They brought back, and it's funny how Michael Bay, I believe it was either Michael Bay or somebody in the film production said, "Oh, G1 designs can never work." But I mean, those things look. I personally think it's a great compromise between G1 and the movieverse, because I mean, those things look beautiful.
Yeah, and the Transformers games that came out in the decade of the
Oh,
Bayformers
definitely.
movies, or within the span of the Bayformers movies, War on Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. I mean, they did a good job updating like the G1 aesthetics, where you could see it fit within a realistic setting, within reality,
Yeah.
and they made the right call for Bumblebee. But Age of Extinction is an interesting case because it's pretty bad, but I actually have like a guilty pleasure appeal to it because of how stupid it is. Because here's the biggest difference between this movie and the sequels, and I think Brad Jones said it best. It's just like clearly Shia LaBeouf and the other actors in Revenge of the Fallen, well, I would just say all three, in all three movies, are clearly reading comedy sketch lines. They're performing shtick. But in Age of Extinction, you have like these actors who are pretty good actors. Like you have like fucking Kelsey Grammer and Stanley Tucci, and they don't really. They're playing it po-faced, so there's not an ounce of irony going on, and they're like delivering this shitty dialogue, but it's kind of hilarious to watch. Same with Mark Wahlberg, where you got like I think we just found a transformer, and it's hilarious shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do get like
Or the
people.
whole thing.
Oh, sorry. Go
Go on.
ahead.
No, you can go.
I mean, I do get people, will pit this as like the worst movie they've ever seen, but yeah, it is pretty bad. But I just like, I kind of find like a very weird, ironic sense of humor with that movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scene in there where Mark Wahlberg's like, "Oh, I think I just found a no, not that one. The one where he says, "Oh, I'm an inventor. This is a game changer for me." Like, it just doesn't hit well, you know?
I'm an inventor. This could change our lives. Come on, bro. Come on, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah. What? Yeah, I mean, I can't really say how good Mark Wahlberg is as an actor because I've only seen really these last night in Age of Extinction of him. So, I mean, my criticism of him is not the best because I mean, his acting in Age of Extinction was better than the last night. Because the last night, I swear, was just for a paycheck. If you've seen some of those scenes with Mark Wahlberg, I mean, oh, not good.
He has a few funny beats in the last night, but yeah, he's clearly there in the motions, man.
It's like, oh, we only need you, Prime. You're the only one who can get us out of this. And it's like, so it just feels dead.
Yeah, I got you. Oh yeah, I know. I see the scene that you're mentioning there. Yeah, you're the only one, Prime. We'll never make it out of this, not without you, or something like that. And
It's bad.
it's so bad. Yeah, I know. It's just like, oh my god. But in Age of Extinction, he fucking crash lands into a fucking Bud Light truck and pops open a Bud Light and drinks it.
That makes no damn sense.
I know, but like it's kind of stupid, but it's hilarious.
It is.
Yeah,
Like, is this your car? You need some astronaut insurance or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. That's how Bud Light got money, man. You just right there.
Yeah. I mean, there's
I know.
some, there's some, there's some interesting stuff in Extinction. Excuse me. There's some good. Well, there's some
Yeah,
things I can
definitely there
highlight
is.
in that movie. Like, Lockdown's a pretty good villain compared to the villains that we got in the other movies. I mean, and it's down to just like one villain this time. It's not like four different villains.
Really just locked down in the government. And I mean, there was even a thing where everybody loved Lockdown at the end, and then they wanted to bring him back into Last Night, which made no sense because he was such a popular character. Eventually, they figured out, oh, we can't do this. But there's some early concept art for Hot Rod that depicts him as a Lockdown, which I find hilarious because like they were actually considering bringing him Lockdown back, which you can't. He's dead. He got cut in half. He's gone. I mean, no, you can't bring him back. He's dead.
I mean, they might as well because clearly in the logic of Bayformers, you can kill a villain, but then you can have him at somebody else, but still be that villain. It's like Rasputin.
Still continuity.
Yeah. Somehow Palpatine
Terrible.
returned.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, the stuff with Lockdown is pretty interesting. And I do like that they actually have a human character actually doing stuff rather than just like shouting no 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 doing Shia LaBeouf stuff. Because Mark Wahlberg, I mean, his performance is kind of terrible, but he actually has some badass moments. Even though
Yeah.
I don't buy the reality that a fucking 10-ton robot can wail on Mark Wahlberg and Mark Wahlberg blocks it with his gun.
Oh my god, yeah, that scene. I know what you're talking about. He should have been squished.
I know
And how about that one scene where like Lockdown shoots the pillar and then you clearly see a crew member there?
um I do recall another well, I'm sure you're referring to the scene where Lockdown targets Mark Wahlberg, but then in the wall that Mark Wahlberg he takes cover in. The next shot, suddenly there's like a guy there that Lockdown just fucking blows up into red dust.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one you were mentioning? Yeah, I know.
That's yeah,
where
it
the
makes no
fuck
sense.
did that come from?
It's supposed to be a cast member, like for like the what's it called? I forgot the term, but like the real life effects team that does the explosion. And they didn't even edit him out. They just left it in there.
Yeah, which is
It's
yeah.
bad.
Well, just to remind you, these movies, especially like, yeah, I think all these movies they had like fucking f- five different editors, and I think that's confirmed so with The Last Night. And yet, not
Yeah,
one of them
definitely.
can spot a continuity issue.
You know, it's funny about how you bring that up because an editor in the first movie, because you know how Brawl, the tank guy, named himself Devastator. So the editor's like, "Hey, man, this character's not Devastator. This is Brawl." And Michael Bay literally said, "Oh, wow, I prefer to name Devastator." And that's why then when you get Hasbro, they just renamed him back to Brawl. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah, because then you have Devastator in the next movie.
And then don't even get me started with Barricade. Like, literally, you see Akiva Goldsman. No, not Akiva Goldsman. Or one of the writers, I think it's Akiva Goldsman. And he's laughing, like, oh, we forgot about Barricade. And you see, like, in like, the special, not the special edition that's on the Blu-ray DVD
Oh,
behind the scenes. Oh,
featurette?
yeah, we forgot about Gareth in the first movie. And then, so Barricade's basically gone after you see him drive on the little street. Second movie, he doesn't appear. Third movie, he makes a cameo and you think he's dead. And then the last night, he's back in a new body and his voice is different. Like, what happened here?
Yeah, man, that's pretty much like the mind of Michael Bay.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I still got to piece together a barricade theory. That's going to be a pain, but I'll figure it out.
what about the excuse me? What about the statutory rape joke, the rape card?
Oh my God, Statute 675-3.
You could
Whatever
have easily
hell it
cut
was.
that out. Like,
That
here's the
didn't need
thing.
to be there.
I could picture myself editing the movie. You could easily cut that fucking part out, and it doesn't really serve that boyfriend character any purpose. It just makes him a total creep. It's just like, yeah, I'm dating your daughter because I carry like a statutory rape card that makes it okay for me to do so. Like he's a fucking
And that
creep.
actor even came out against it. I
Well,
forgot
that's
his
good.
name, but yeah,
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, that actor was younger than Tessa's actor, which makes it even more odd.
Oh, really? I always,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of hard for me to say because both him and Mark Wahlberg look like they're not that far apart in age, and I think yeah, the Irish actor is probably like a good above 21, I'm sure, um, but the girlfriend, that actress, she's like a good 18, barely, when they shot the movie.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, because
Maybe the thing I read was wrong.
no, it's fine. I've known for a long time that that actress she only has a career because her fucking family owns like a fucking ketchup company.
Hines or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, Heinz is probably yeah that's probably it. But anyways, yeah, she's well, of course they can't have her like fucking be shot in this, be shot in those leering shots that Michael Bay loves to do, under 18 because that wouldn't
Oh, and how
would
about that
definitely
creepy
be
thing that
awful.
they did with her, where you got the Lucas T.J. Miller? He's like, oh, well, he's a hot teen, and he's like, oh, ager. So the teenager makes it like, what? Why was that in the movie?
Uh, you know,
It's, it doesn't need to be there. It sends the wrong message. And this is supposed to be a Transformers film, not some. I don't know.
yeah, it's weird. It's insane for where this franchise goes because the first movie, Michael Bay was clearly reigned the fuck back. Spielberg and the ILM team pretty much were the people responsible of making Transformers. Not just Michael Bay, because Michael Bay was hired just to get these practical effects action scenes going and direct the human actors. But in terms of like the entire story, that was all Spielberg who kind of like oversaw everything and made sure like Michael Bay's jokes weren't too appropriate or too leering or too juvenile. It had to be a movie that would appease everybody. But then because of success, Spielberg kind of like let Michael Bay loose
Yeah.
and let him do whatever the fuck he want because
And we got Revenge of the Fallen out of that.
and Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction and The Last Night.
The Last Night. The worst offender, in my opinion. I mean, it's just too long. I physically couldn't. I mean, if I could have
Compared to
between
3 hours
watching,
of Age of
I just can't
Extinction?
rewatch that film by myself. I had to watch it with my friend who knows this stuff.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's too long in the fact that nothing really happens while Age of Extinction has an illusion of stuff happening and a bit of a structure,
Yeah.
even though it's completely like toneless and structureless. And it's Aaron Kruger writing again.
Wasn't he like the only writer?
He was the sole writer for Dark of the Moon. It carried out for Revenge of the Fallen that he became the sole writer of Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction.
And then they kicked him out for The Last Night.
I mean, they replaced him with other writers because, yeah, they probably kicked him out because of the fucking feedback of these movies. But what's kind of depressing about Age of Extinction is just like, you remember how movies like Titanic or Star Wars, like, they didn't have the intention of just like broadening themselves, therefore dumbing down like the core audience that it's being shown to. Like, there was a time and spontaneity for these movies where like because of like Star Wars and Titanic or Jurassic Park, it's just like the story and what people got out of those movies was pretty much universal. Like the stories for all three of those movies were universal enough that it even appealed to like international countries to a point where yeah, it just got like this lightning in the bottle of success. Whereas with Age of Extinction, it's pretty obvious that it's aiming for China because of how calculated it feels. It feels very cold and cynical and yeah, just cash grabbing, and not just to like domestically, but like to obviously its main audience that the studios care to capitalize on, which was China.
Well, if you can make $1 million here, you can make several million in China. That's the ruling mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess we can probably cover The Last Night, and I know we've kind of gone over for like 2 hours, but we could probably just wrap this up soon. But yeah, The Last Night, the last one you'll ever see, is what I would call it, out of Michael Bay. So
yeah,
again,
The Last Night.
Yeah, I had no desires to watch this movie, especially when the trailers open, because I think by that point I was interested in other movies, and Disney was blowing up by the time this movie came
Yeah.
out. With people were just finding interest in Star Wars again, and the Marvel movies were still capitalizing, and you do have the Fast and Furious Jurassic World series still blowing up in the Disney remakes. So on the offhand, you had the Last Night, which already looks pretty abysmal from what I see off the box office records. But I think that was a solidifying point where people were already people were already getting tired of the shit that Michael Bay was known for.
Yeah, they were jumping ship
Yeah,
because there's better stuff out there.
exactly. Well, I mean, I can argue that the better stuff isn't very good, but yeah, people were, uh, moving on to other stuff, other movies, and so there was an
Yeah.
appeal for other franchises going on. But yeah, trust the Last Night, it was just like that was a done deal for people, especially if you're like a fan of the first couple Transformers movies. I don't really see anybody like liking this because it's pretty much like Michael Bay's most incompetent movie he's ever directed.
It's kind of funny how you say most people don't like it. Yeah, if people who came watched Transformers when the original trilogy, first three films came out and saw the last two, most of them didn't really like the last two, especially the last night. But if you came during the Age of Extinction era, because I have a friend who came in during Age of Extinction era and defends the last night. I mean, God forbid, but I mean, I can kind of see it because you got that whole like that Mark Wahlberg thing, I guess. But yeah, if you came later, you kind of like it, but still, it still flopped because it was the weakest out of the five.
Yeah, and again, just in sheer incompetence, because you mentioned like he had several writers in one room together to like
Definitely,
make the
dude.
script, and the script itself was going to be a foundation for more movies, and so on the production side, Michael Bay was shooting this movie with several different cameras, especially IMAX. But when you get like the projected results in theater, it's fucking cut in between different aspect ratios where you have like
Oh my God, yeah.
it's a Chris Nolan syndrome except worse. Except it's Michael Bay.
Take a shot every time the aspect ratio changes. You'd be dead.
Yeah, because here's the way I put it, and it's simply illustrating the Dark Knight. If you want to have a grandiose action scene that's in IMAX, cool. You can play with that. You can play with that tool for that particular moment to tell your story, and then everything else. If you're shooting intimate scenes where you have actors talking to each other in rooms and shit, and you just want to shoot it in just normal 35 millimeter frame, awesome. But here, Michael Bay, he decides like, okay, we're gonna have Mark Wahlberg's face shot in IMAX, or we're gonna have like these two characters in the space occupying in IMAX, and we're gonna have a big wide action shot in 35 millimeter for some reason. And yeah, it just cuts back and forth between these aspect ratios, and it's so fucking insufferable to live through that.
Yeah, definitely. And then like they got they because the thing it's the last night was trying to pander to everybody. I don't know if you remember, but there was trailers where Isabella Monier's character was talking about, oh, girl power. I fight like a girl. I'm gonna fight him and stuff like that. And those scenes never made to the film because it was pandering to like female audience. Then you got Anthony Hopkins who was pandering to the older audience because like he's a respected actor, so older fellows would come in. And here's a true story. I was watching the last night for the second time, and an older lady came up to me, and she was watching because it was opening scene with like King Arthur and crap, and she's like, "Is this a Transformers movie? Because I don't see any Transformers." Like, "Oh yeah, they come on later." She was generally confused, and she eventually saw the movie. I had never caught up back with her what she thought, but like, it just if you came into her not knowing if you heard it was a Transformers movie, and you saw that. I mean, it really confuses you, dude.
Yeah. Well, I see on the chat. I think you have a follower named Nuzuki who loves the Last Night. Which is
I can
fine,
respect
dude.
that, man.
Yeah, to each their own. But again, I question you. um, but yeah, it's just like clearly Michael Bay had no interest in directing this movie, and you could tell just by the nature of how he like constructed the movie. it's just like
Yeah.
it's pretty lifeless, and it just goes on. Oh, one other thing. There's a Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie that came out that same year, and Michael Bay shot the opening scene with King Arthur and Merlin for a different movie, but Michael Bay wanted to use those scenes for the Transformers movie instead.
No, oh my god, that's terrible. It's fine. It actually kind of goes back in to reuse shots because if you remember, there's a scene from The Island where a truck smashes into a car, and then they took a reuse that scene, put a transformer in there, and I guess that was because they shot that scene and a cast member died, the stunt driver, so they just didn't even use it. But the thing is, the worst offender in The Last Night. I want to bring this up, and now I remembered. I don't know if you remember. There's a scene where Megatron gets revived in the second movie, and he goes out of the ocean and he smacks a submarine, right? And there's a submarine battle in The Last Night. And I swear to God, for a few frames, you see the exact same scene they use. And you even see Revenge of the Fallen Megatron's design. That's what pisses me off the most.
Yeah, they. I mean, clearly they use a lot of stock footage in the Last Night, and not the first time. I think the second movie had some stock footage. The third movie used stock footage from The Island, and Michael Bay played around with those scenes from The Island to put the Transformers effects in there. And I will say that's the best use of stock footage that he recycled. But still, yeah, he tends to do that for some of his movies. It's pretty lazy.
Yeah, but it's can't like the Last Night one. You could see Megatron in that shot in a complete. In it that
I
I can't respect.
I do recall, yeah, because it's when Mark Wahlberg and what's her face, Discount
I don't
Megan
even
Fox
know.
are going to like the underground platform through the sub, and then the sub like catches wind of something, and then yeah, I do get you. You do see that shot where it's supposedly the same sub, but it's actually the sub in Revenge of the Fallen that Megatron knocks out away, and you can
Yeah,
clearly
and
see
then
the effect from Revenge of the Fallen.
definitely. And I mean, I would have been fine if we use it, but please cut out Megatron. Like you see him for a few frames, top left corner. I'm like, come on.
Or
That's
just
just
make a new shot.
yeah. I mean, oh, and the whole thing. I don't know if you remember. And you know how they had the Autobot Alliance called Nest, right?
Yeah,
Um, they reused a lot of Nest shots in The Last Night, and Nest should be disbanded, right? Because it got disbanded after the third in Age of Extinction. But there's a scene where you can see the Nest logo in one of the military places. I'm like, that doesn't work out, partner. It's gone. It's like stuff like that.
yeah. Here's another weird thing. Josh Duhamel's in it, but when he sees Bumblebee, he doesn't really like say, "Bumblebee, remember me? I fought with you guys in the last couple movies." It's like there's no fucking acknowledgement that Josh Duhamel like recognizes the Autobots. Like
Yeah,
he doesn't.
it just feels odd.
I know he feels he doesn't even need to be there. It's so misplaced to have that character back, and he doesn't even
It
like.
was the only reason he's in there is because they were supposed to get Tyrese back, but he had to film Fast and Furious, but they already signed a contract with Josh, and like, all right, let's put him in the film.
Well, I mean, like Hugo Weaving voicing Megatron. I mean, they saw the script and they knew what they were going. They knew they were going into, so they didn't bother. They saw the script for their movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tyrese Gibson has a he has a much better career now with the Fast and Furious movies. Um, but yeah, it's weird with Josh Duhamel being there because the scene where Optimus Prime finally comes back and goes evil, quote unquote evil.
He says nothing, or he just
Yeah,
gives up on
he
him or
doesn't.
something. He's like, oh, the mission's over.
Yeah, he doesn't talk down to Optimus. He doesn't like he doesn't calm down or negotiate with them. He's just like, yeah, Optimus is here. Let's shoot at him.
That it just breaks character, dude. That's the thing. It's like they forget what they did in the previous film. Like, oh, Galvatron, yeah, bye bye. He's Megatron again.
Yeah, and then he's Megatron again. I would say that design of Megatron is fitting. Despite
He finally gets the fusion cannon.
despite the shoehorn night aesthetics that Michael Bay likes to stroke himself about. The Megatron
I
design
hated
in that
Tonight.
movie it's about as close as his design in the G1 series, even though it's still like the Michael Bay aesthetic.
Yeah, I heard they were trying to base it more off the Transformers Prime design, which I can kind of see inspiration from. But I don't like how Megatron has these weird two tusk things coming out of his head until he puts his mask on. It looks
Yeah,
weird.
well, I mean, it's just to protect himself from COVID. Maybe Michael Bay was
Yeah,
ahead of
definitely.
himself. Maybe he knew. Maybe he knew what he was doing.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, Autobots can pee and they can have balls, so I'm assuming they can get sick. Even fucking Optimus gets rust lung in the fourth movie, after he's being found by Cade Yeager in that farmhouse.
Yeah, I mean, I just realized. I know it's completely off topic, but didn't they get? Yeah, they had John Turturro back in the last night just to say scrotum again.
Yeah, again, like that was like a moment where I was kind of like, yeah, this movie's gonna be shit. Why would you bring John Turturro back?
As I guess something. Why was he there? I'm actually thinking this. He was there for a reason, I'm assuming, but there's something about how. Oh yeah, filming at Stonehenge, and you got Cogman, like, or more Stonehenge thing. Come on, why Stonehenge? Because Michael Bay wanted to film there.
Oh yeah, do you recall when the movie tries to be Stranger Things for like 10 minutes?
Oh yes, the kids, and then how about the suicide cons? Remember that?
Oh yeah, Suicide Squad. Well, I can already
Yeah.
say, which is kind of hilarious. Michael Bay not only rips off better movies, he starts to rip off bad movies in The Last Night. Where yeah, you remember Suicide Squad? Well, you hate that movie. Let's have our own Suicide Squad that you can kill off in like 5 minutes. Or you remember that? Remember that
I
shot in Independence Day Resurgence where like the mothership like touches down on Earth? Let's have that in The Last Night. Here's another movie. Bad v Superman where Bumblebee yells Martha and Optimus goes, "Why did you say that name?"
Yeah, that was bad. The whole Nemesis. That's the thing. What if the last night was all the Autobots having to stop Optimus, or he gangs up on him? Like they promoted Optimus as being Nemesis Prime, the hell out of it. And I thought, oh, all the Autobots are going to gang up against him. Nope, you only get to see him for like. He's not even Optimus Prime's not even in the movie for like 5 minutes or something like that. That's a crime. That's a crime, right?
Yeah, he's barely in the movie. I get you. Um, and yeah, just no reason for him to go evil. And wasn't his
And
whole
then how
point
about
was to find the creators, but then there's like one creator, Quintessa.
yeah, that makes no sense, and that was fun to fix in a video. Yeah, because the find your make. Yeah, because it's in Age of Extinction, it's plural creators, and every single time it's men up. But then you only see Quintessa. Like, did they forget? I mean, probably because Megatron's Galvatron now, and or Galvatron's Megatron now, and then Barricade's just back. The only reason why Barricade is back in the last night is because he won a fan vote. Which, okay, I guess. But like, what if they voted Jazz back and then boom, he's back? How does that work? You know, that's basically now Barricade has the leeway because you didn't really see him die on screen. It was implied, so that's how you could shoe him in. Or, but I mean, he should have been. They did Barricade dirty in the last night. I know a lot of people like his design, but I mean, he's blue. His head's different. He has a new voice. I mean, it's the same voice actor, but it's bad. It's just bad, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's one funny bit. Not to the intention that Michael Bay was going for, is where when they have that little town fight, that little dead town fight between the
Yeah.
Autobots and the Suicide Bots. There's one moment where Grimlock comes in and Barricade yells "freeze" at a fucking raging dinosaur bot.
And he gets smacked into the
Of
wall.
course, because what the fuck did you expect?
Yeah, that's probably a joke or something they planned for.
Oh no.
Or
I
how
mean,
about the
it's not a joke on the writers. It's I find it pretty. I found it pretty funny. It's just like, why would this robot yell freeze at a fucking dinosaur that doesn't like, understand basic English?
Yeah, and I mean Grimlock was considerably smaller in some shots in the last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, how do you mess that up? I mean, he's like, because you see, there's a scene where like he barely misses Cade Yeager and the girl character. I think it was Isabel Moner who played her, and like you see his feet, and they almost get crushed. His foot is not that small because if you watch Age of Extinction, his foot is huge, but then shrink him down and like boom, bada bing. And then like, what's the point of having Onslaught, the Combaticon leader, if you're just gonna kill him off?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's just like, yeah. Last night, pretty much for me, like, yeah, it was. It's the last film you need to see out of Bayformers. That sealed the deal for me.
Yeah, I mean, I just consider it. I mean, I like Age of Extinction, but if I had the choice to end it at the third film, I would have just cut it off there. I mean, The Last Night was a crime. Let's put. Well, how about The Watch That Killed Hitler? Yeah. Oh my
Hmm.
God.
Yeah.
And then you got
Well,
Harriet
and
Tubman.
yeah,
Literally, Harriet Tubman combined with the Transformers and like that whole scene where you see everybody. And like, how does that work?
and um, and Earth is a transformer,
Oh yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, it was Unicron. That's right. But you only get to see his horn, but he doesn't transform.
but he's still he's a planet, so that he's essentially Earth. So, okay, well, you stopped Quintessa from killing Unicron because her whole goal was to kill Unicron, but to do so, she wanted to destroy Earth. So, basically, the heroes saved nothing. They saved no one. They didn't
Yeah,
save
and then like the
anyone. They just prolonged the inevitable.
yeah, I mean I agree. And then like the whole thing with the staff. I mean it's every single movie is a different artifact.
Yeah, first it was a cube. Now it's like the Matrix. Now it's like the pillars. Now it's like
Pillar.
the sea. Now it's like the staff of the
Which
stick
you
of
never really
truth.
get to know what the staff does. That's the thing. It's like, oh, it's a staff of power, but what does the staff exactly do? Well, uh, Michael Bay doesn't tell you.
No, he just thinks that's nerdy shit. He doesn't give a shit about nerdy shit. He wants to show you cool shit because cool matters.
And then how about the whole? I know Bumblebee got his voice back, which is it should have not worked like that. But there's one scene where he gets his word to giving him a new voice box, and then he's talking in a Siri voice. Like, how does that work? You put alien technology in him, and then start speaking like Siri. I mean, yeah, I know it's a gag, but I mean, what's the how does that work?
Yeah, because like, I mean, it's acknowledged in the first movie they get all their information through the web. So couldn't they like make their voice sound into something else? Which is why they speak perfect English. Which that's
I
a thing
mean,
I could
they
buy. I that's a thing I'm not gonna let it like destroy my brain cells because that's a thing that they first established in the first movie, and the first movie's introducing the Transformers how they fit in the real world. But yeah, the Siri voice is like, why did it have to be a Siri voice? Couldn't it just? I'm sure like a voice box with a Transformer's body or host can like shift into another voice.
I mean, on theory, it should have been. You know, they can transport planets, but they can't fix voice boxes.
Yeah, and yeah, you mentioned the discount Vanessa Hudgens character who has like a fucking feminist marketing ploy, and she's barely in the movie for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then they kind of just have to shoehorn her back in the Osprey, like they forgot what to do with her.
Yeah, Michael Bay, you don't need to bring back people. You could just have them serve their purpose and move on with somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, last night was an interesting fever dream.
Yeah, just cause he likes those characters doesn't mean that we have to.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Yeah, it was that was a huge fuck you in terms of like, the worst movie experience I had, and that was right after when I graduated from college, and I brought a friend who went with me to see Transformers 3 a couple years back to see this movie, and yeah, this was undeniably terrible. Like,
Yeah, I have similar experience. I had a friend and he had a birthday party, so we had two other friends who didn't really know much about Transformers, and their first Transformers experience was the last night. Terrible.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel bad. Yeah, I never talked about Transformers with us again after that.
Though there's one line that cracks me up. I will say, and again, it's a piece of unintentional hilarity, where you first hear Anthony Hawkins' narration in the King Arthur scene, and his line goes like, "Magic does exist inside a crashed alien ship." Can you let
Yeah, I
that
remember that.
process?
Magic was in the alien ship, but we never even get to see the alien ship besides like the thruster thing where one of the knights come out. But I want to see what that ship was, but
But
you never
like
get that.
you understand, like, yeah, magic, a piece of fantasy, a piece of illusion is found in technology. Like, can you not understand how stupid that sounds?
It doesn't make sense.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Will Stevenson's here. He said so. It's not magic. Then I agree. Likewise. Um. But yeah. So last night comes out. Huge flop. Critics hate it. Fuck you to Michael Bay. So the idea was to make a cinematic universe out of the Bayformers. So they wanted to do it with. They wanted to do a standalone film with Bumblebee, and by that point, whoops, we're looking at bees. I don't mean literal bees. I mean the only bee, the only transformer that matters. Okay, so the trepidation I had when Bumblebee was coming out was just like, oh great, another Transformers movie. I mean Haley Steinfeld's in it, but I'm not very sure because by that point I was just like, I was at a phase where, you know, I watched so many movies, but I got completely cynical with movies, especially especially in the quality that uh, they're they're coming out on. So
Yeah.
the Bumblebee trailers came out, and I wasn't very excited or interested in watching it. And I first thought like, why do the effects look pretty bad? And that was like my subjective take. It's just like, yeah, the effect on Bumblebee doesn't look as good as it does in it does in 2007. Yeah, I'm not sure what, because he at first he like to me he looked like a video game playable character, how they rendered him, but you know I would probably take that back because interesting story. I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Bumblebee back to back in my local theater for where I was living at, and I really liked Bumblebee a lot. It kind
Yeah.
of took me back to
I
a much
mean,
better place where I was very hopeful of where you could take Transformers.
I remember the trailer where you get to see Soundwave in his G1 glory launch out a cassette tape on Cybertron. He turns into Ravage. That just blew my mind.
Yeah, because just right out of the get go, what brought me back is the opening prologue on Cybertron. It was just like, holy shit, this is Cybertron. This is what people have been talking about, what they wanted out of Transformers for a long time. And these are the G1 characters.
Beautiful.
Yeah, these are the Autobots that people recognize. And I will be on an off tangent. After Dark and the Moon came out, I did spot the Transformers cartoon and the the '86 movie the following year since the third movie came out, and it was like, holy shit, this is Transformers, and this is what's missing from the Michael Bay movies. It's like these characters are heroic, they're noble, they're likable, they're they got like good broy banter between each other, and this is and like they're fighting this war that we can actually get behind, and that's clearly shown in the prologue for Bumblebee.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen much of G1, but I know enough that what Michael it's night and day. I mean, the characters like the character of Optimus Prime alone in G1, like the fathery figure you could say, and like how he sees the best in everyone, the noble heroic leader. You compare that to psychopathic Prime in the Bay films, and like what happened? I mean, you saw a little bit of it in the first film, but after that, I mean, that redeemable character was just gone.
Yeah, and like too much of the criticism that Bay had on the G1 designs, like they did a good job of doing that in Bumblebee. Like they look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, give this movie more budget for better rendering, and with those designs, I mean, they could look as photoreal as what they had in 2007. I mean, that Optimus design at the end of the Bumblebee movie, beautiful.
Well, I think like the final product with the effects, they actually look better than how I saw them in like the trailers for Bumblebee. So, the like the technology, like is pretty accessible at this point because it was very hard to come up with in 2007. And I guess with a smaller
Yeah,
budget, you know, it could mean less render time. But I would say like I don't think the effects like have aged since 2 years ago, man. Like the fight with Bumblebee and Blitzwing in like the desert canyon looks pretty awesome. Like there's a good shot where Bumblebee is already like on the brink of dying, and he's laying there on the dirt, and you can actually see like the good dirt details on his on like the hood chest. It's
Yeah,
very good detail I picked up.
and how his head like falls into the water as well. That looked pretty good.
Yeah, and also it's just like it's a much smaller movie um, where like the Michael Bay movies, they got like 40 plus Decepticons or Transformers. While in Bumblebee, there's like excluding like the
Or
prologue, there's mainly just like uh, three Transformers that take up most of the film time.
yeah, I mean, Shatter and Dropkick, Decepticons with personality. When I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, and there's some downs with like the Decepticons, like with Blitzwing, you get the idea like they're they're policing they're policing this war. They're trying to like punish the Autobots with some sense of like rule to them, but like you know they're still doing evil shit. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Definitely, like they're trying to be. I mean, we really don't know why the war started, at least in the Bumblebee continuity as of now. But I mean, like they call him a traitor to Cybertron. Like, so I find it interesting. Like the Autobots are kind of the rebels, similar to like. And I haven't seen Star Wars, so this may be an inaccurate example, but it seems like something similar to that. Like there's rebellion, and that became the Autobots. And I would love to see what they do in the future. Now, granted, the next film is like $200 million, so I mean, I'm kind of worried if it's going to become another Michael Bay fan fest, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much like the influence behind Transformers, going back to G1. There's clearly like a Star Wars and Superman influence where it just throws you in media res. So again, you don't really get much backstory. It's just like, yeah, there's this war going on, so the Autobots are taking refuge onto Earth, but the Decepticons see Earth as another resource for them to conquer, and the Autobots are going to defend Earth as their new home. And that's a great foundation to have for like a major film franchise. But for some reason, the Michael Bay movies just like they don't focus on the Transformers as much. And Bumblebee, they clearly do. Like it was directed by Travis Knight, who did like the Studio Leica uh,
Yeah.
stop motion animation. He directed Kubo and the Two Strings, and he
And he
wanted
was
to
like,
do
he was a guy who grew up with G1, so that helped a lot.
yeah. And get this, like within the heart of Bumblebee, it's pretty much like this this romance, and I don't mean that in the literal term, but like romance between Haley Steinfeld and Bumblebee, who are essentially like two broken characters that they that they find each other like haven throughout the movie. And get this, like it was written by Bumblebee was written by a writer under Christina Hodgson, and in case if you think that she was the reason that Bumblebee worked, well, you gotta watch Birds of Prey. Um,
Oh no.
yeah, but really, it was there was some ghostwriting in Bumblebee, and it happened to be Kelly Fremont Craig who actually worked with Haley Steinfeld in Edge of 17, and she directed that movie.
Oh
So
yeah, Edge of 17 was really good.
it is really good. Haley Steinfeld's amazing too, and she's amazing here in this movie. And you can tell, like, in the scenes between her and Bumblebee, like, there's some good care into it, and you could probably see like uh, Kelly Fremont Craig's like stamp into those scenes.
Hope they bring her back at least as a writer, but I heard they're getting. I don't know who the next writer is, but I know their name's been publicly announced, and I think they've worked on at least Amazing Spider-Man, to my knowledge. Could be wrong.
Oh well, I think there are like two different writers. James Vanderbilt, he wrote
Yeah.
Zodiac, and there's also Steve Klubbs who shares some drafting credit on Amazing Spider-Man, who wrote some of the Harry Potter movies. But it's unknown what's gonna happen with Transformers because you know when after the movie like cooled down for a while, like they didn't like meet the success that they were aiming for, even though it still made some profit. But they were convinced
Yeah.
that the reason why they were convinced that the reason why Bumblebee underperformed is that I think one of the producers said it.
The Bayham.
Yeah, it was missing the Bayham. It was missing the Michael Bay influence. I'm like, don't you fucking dare, producers! Don't you fucking bring him back?
Interestingly enough,
Yeah.
that's the same producer who told the Last Night team don't care about continuity.
Oh fuck. Well, that pretty much just says it all.
And apparently he's, as of now, his name's not been attached to the new Transformers film. So I mean, this guy's called Lorenzo Bonaventura. A lot of people at least hate this guy for what he did for the Bay films because he's like, oh, we need more explosions and shit. And he's not attached to the new $200 one, directed by Steve Capel Jr., which he made Creed 2. And I haven't seen it, but I heard it was a good movie. So I mean, we just gotta hope and pray it becomes something, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's known for other movies like fucking uh, the Doom, movie adaptation,
I
and
haven't seen that.
the GI Joe movies that were carrying out like the the military action of Transformers. Um, I must say, not like a lot of like horrible. Oh, okay, yeah. There's Doom Annihilation, the Pet Cemetery remake. Okay, so we're going into bottom of the barrel, but he's done like a lot of like mid-tier, mediocre movies. Nothing too terrible. But yeah, since you mentioned that, what he thinks about continuity, then that pretty much just sums it up who he is.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I liked Bumblebee much better than Spider Verse, and I think Bumblebee has grown with me over time.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I know they're saying they're going to implement Beast Wars, I guess, next because of the 25th anniversary, and it's rumored it's going to be the next film. Personally, I think it's too soon because you just made Bumblebee and you should ease into Beast Wars, but I mean, we'll see what they do.
But that's an issue too because I guess because of fans, they have these expectations that they want so much. They want so much stuff in these movies, but because of demands by the studio, the movies are a mess of themselves because yeah, they want let's introduce this character from the G1 series. Let's introduce this character from Beast Wars or Insect Wars, what have you. But like it removes like the context of why characters like that worked in their own shows or in their own media from where they came up from instead of just like following the continuity of these movies and actually because if you want to do a Transformers movie, you gotta like pick your era, pick your aesthetic, pick whatever story that's going to be your foundation, and then don't pull out characters from other media because that's my issue with superhero movies, especially like Batman v Superman. It's just like Batman v Superman has a foundation of its own story, but it's got like all these references or inspired moments from like Dark Knight Returns and other comic book media that fans are really going to defend because the movies themselves, like the movie itself, doesn't work in context of its own movie, which is a problem with adaptation because whatever you adapt onto the big screen, it's not going to be in the context of the story that you're making. It's going to be in its own rule standards of a movie. That's why like the Beast Wars thing. Like I'm afraid like if the next movie is going to be bringing in characters from Beast Wars, then that's probably not going to work out because again you have Bumblebee that's trying to set up like a G1 is going to be a rebooted series on the G1 aesthetic style of Transformers, and I wish they could just focus on that at the same time just making a movie of its own, which is what I fear.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's too soon, but just hope and pray. Just hope and pray, because I mean, if they mess up, I mean they put a step in the right direction of Bumblebee, but then if they take two steps back, so if the next one, I mean, Transformers are just gonna still fall even farther than it was from the last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think after Bumblebee, it just felt me like a state of mind that's more positive, and I really hope that you know if they're going to announce a Transformers movie soon, um, I hope they keep it in line with what they set up in Bumblebee and have like its own series. Because here's the thing: when I watch Infinity War, I'm so pissed off watching Infinity War because of what we could have gone with Transformers. Is like Transformers could have been an amazing series of movies where you could have Megatron
Definitely.
as a pretty popular character, but the way they treat him is just like, yeah, he's just like Bomba the Barrel antagonist now because of the movies. And it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way. It should be like, because how the first
It
movie
should be a
worked,
respected character.
yeah, how the first movie worked, in which you have like people behind, you know, people like behind the reins of Michael Bay trying to make a film that respects the Transformers franchise and brand. That should apply with the other sequels. And they didn't really like do a good job nurturing it. In the same way how
Definitely.
Kevin Feige has held the MCU for this long. Even though I do have my own issues with the MCU, but like, the MCU has made its like success for the longest time for one reason. It's just like they wanted to bring so many of these comic book characters and pay reverence and respect to them, but in a way that they could still work in a film adaptation sense. And that's why you have characters like Thanos that's pretty beloved, and Iron Man and Thor.
I just hope one day we get our own Kevin Feige, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, at least hire Travis Knight as the Kevin Feige because he knows what he's doing.
I guess, but I mean, Travis Knight has his own film company and his own projects, so I mean, I doubt he would just dedicate his like entire career just to Transformers.
I see you have a comment there towards you. Hey, Trans Theories, love your videos and sorry for nitpicking about Hot Rod. Is your video about every Transformers character, but for some reason I couldn't ignore it? Was that a question?
Oh yeah, I remember Kamala and James. Yeah, I did a list of all characters and I forgot one of Hot Rod's forms, which was like the old car. But yeah, but I already posted the video, so I mean I can't really just take it down now.
Did you know that Hot Rod was French? I mean, there were some subtle hints.
Yeah, he was French.
Yeah, there were some subtle hints, but I couldn't really pick up on it.
It's bad. He's not supposed to be French. Hey, well at least he didn't kill Optimus Prime.
Yeah. Have you watched like well, we're gonna reach the closing of our video, but have you watched like have you watched any YouTubers talk about Transformers movies? Because I had my fair share. There's like Ralph the Movie Maker, Lindsay Ellis.
I watched probably one that comes to mind. You know a YouTube channel called Filmento? Filmento?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy, he recently did a story on Dark of the Moon. We pretty enjoyed his video. I liked his takes on how he considered it like you said earlier, Michael Bay's peak, and he kind of went into that.
Well,
Definitely
speaking
a good
that, like,
channel
he implemented that style for 3D, and again, the appeal for Transformers, despite Revenge of the Fallen, was still strong with how the film was marketed and stuff, despite the falling out with Megan Fox. That, yeah, I mean, you can't argue its success, and that pushed Michael Bay to the top where, he started making his own movies like Pain and Gain and 13 Hours, the Benghazi movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that sounds interesting, but I did see Phil Mento's take on Man of Steel, and it wasn't very good. But who knows? Maybe I'll check it out.
I haven't seen that one. I've only seen his Transformers content.
Oh, no, I only got that from Mahler's. If you're familiar with Mahler, I do watch his stuff, and I do enjoy his breakdowns on bad video essayists. And it was at a time where the Snyder Cut was coming out, so they were covering DC, and they covered Phil Memento's take on Man of Steel, and it's pretty bad. There's also there's also this channel.
I've heard of Mellows.
Yeah.
Oh, which one?
There's also this channel. It's Cordery FX.
Rotary Effects. That sounds familiar. Is that the guy who breaks down the fight scenes, or is that somebody else?
Well, Corey FX, he's a YouTuber off Australia, and he's in close contact with he's in close networking with Please Rewind's channel, and he's basically like a visual effects like editor, and I think he's a visual effects animator, and he does like videos, and he has a pretty cool format and theme to his channel, where he covers like mainly he's been talking about like the Terminator franchise, uh, and he's been breaking down bad Conjuring ripoffs. But he's best known for his Transformers content, and if you go listen to his commentaries with his buddies on Transformers, it's probably like the funniest shit you'll ever listen to. Especially the third movie. The third movie he covers in commentary is the best one out of his commentary series.
I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I feel like I've seen something on the third movie, and I don't know if it's by that guy. It could be by somebody else, but correct me if I'm wrong. But by chance, did he ever like used stock photos of Transformers and like move them around and something like that? That's what I remember from the video. Could be a completely different guy though.
I'm not entirely sure because he doesn't really like Quarterly Effects doesn't use like. I mean, of course he's gonna use like footage for his videos to cover, but I think anyone who used that sort of like method, I would recall that was Ralph the Movie Maker's opening on his review of Transformers Five. I'm not sure if that is quarterly.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think it was that one. It was on the last night, not Doctor the Moon.
Yeah.
That was funny.
What was funny about the commentary series is that he starts from the fifth movie and then works his way down to the first movie. So,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
yeah, so in
I guess
order,
from worse to better.
yeah, so in order, he just like covers the last night first and then goes backwards. Whoops.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, dang. I just realized this stream's longer than Transformers the last night.
Well, hey, all that time will be much worth it than a Transformers movie directed by
Definitely.
Michael Bay.
Movie
But
rots your brain.
just to kind of close it off, like before we meet our goodbyes, man, and I do appreciate the time. What I can say last about the Transformers movies is that like it really kicked off a model of making movies in Hollywood because it's definitely by during within the past decade, it's just like with Transformers, with how much success it pulled in, it kind of like pushed studios to kind of like reboot franchises. Like you got your Jurassic World, and Disney had bought Star Wars at some point, and they rebooted the franchise with the sequel trilogy, and made other movies.
Definitely.
And how long Fast and the Furious can go, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is just like, yeah, it really pushed to a point which is kind of a detriment to Hollywood and how I perceive films to be. It's just like, yeah, because with Transformers, you do have like people behind it that clearly just didn't care about not just the respect for the franchise, but clearly they just didn't care about telling a good story. But regardless of a bad script or a bad movie, it's just like the brand speaks for itself, and it really pushed to a point where how many Despicable Me's you've seen that made $1 billion, or how many Star Wars movies that made $1 billion. It's just like it doesn't really matter what the script is or what the story is. It's just like Mark Hamill said it best. It's just like it doesn't really matter as long as it makes money. And I think these movies, as well as the influence that it carried out from Michael Bay's handling of the Transformers movies, it pushed to a place where Hollywood can just make so many movies out of franchises and not worry about what people have to say. As long as the money talks, then they're gonna keep making more
Definitely.
movies.
Yeah, man, 100% agree. I mean, I'm trying to. There's many franchises that have been ran into the ground. I mean, like the Ghostbusters 20, I think it was 2016 reboot. Terrible, man. Tried to cash in on the old stuff, and I mean, finally the fans are kind of like speaking out. Take the Sonic movie for example. The horrific trailer we saw. People are speaking out. So I feel like now, well, corporate or the companies who just reboot and make money, but now I feel like fans have more power, I guess, at least where their wallet is, or speaking. Because I mean, if the people didn't talk about that Sonic design, we would have not gotten to better. I mean, that thing looked atrocious. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Oh no, it definitely looked terrible. And yeah, while I have my criticism about fan base demands, I mean, you're gonna have those people that are demanding the Beast Wars, but you're gonna have people that want to make sure that characters like Sonic, if they're being made into a movie, they have to look as good as how fans expect him to look from the games. And I think Bumblebee
Definitely,
and
yeah.
Sonic are two little companion pieces I can put together in terms of like, about Hollywood adhering to fan demands that pave well to a pretty good movie.
Yeah, man, definitely. I mean, there's always going to be the people who are going to have these unreal expectations and want this and that, but you really need to listen to the cynical ones that you can definitely do and do justice to.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else to cover, but ranking, I would just put Bumblebee, first Transformers, and then in the order they were made. Well, actually, no, no, no. I would probably go by Bumblebee, Transformers, Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, Revenge of the Fallen, and then the last nine. What would your ranking be?
Exactly my take, too. Yeah,
Same.
spot on.
Nice. Well, yeah, the fact that we covered this long is pretty awesome, and yeah, I do hope this really goes around because I planned this for a while and I kind of held off on it in between times where I was trying to like get my projects together. But this was a good opportunity to kind of like branch out into podcasting, and I'm hoping I could probably bring more people into the Madcast, and maybe also another venue I want to open up is I want to like debate people on media that I could like debunk because
Mm.
I think The Last of Us Part Two, off tangent, The Last of Us Part Two is about to turn a good year, and I think there are still people that are making really bad defenses about the game, and I for one stand by. I hate the game, and I have good
Yeah, I
reasons
heard it
why
was
it's
really bad.
terrible. I'm sorry, say that again.
I said I don't play it, but I've heard it's really bad compared to the first one.
Yeah, like it makes you like if you heard about the first game and if you watched the first game through some movie upload on YouTube, uh, you'll probably find yourself hating it that the fact that the sequel exists, and that's how bad it is.
Yeah, and could be completely wrong, but if my memory serves me right, wasn't there like a lot of political pandering in the second one?
Yes, no doubt. No matter how many, no matter in what way people try to deflect that, there clearly is an agenda behind it. The people behind it clearly shoved out the real creatives who had held Naughty Dog for this long just to let it fall into the wrong guy. But yeah, there is clearly an agenda, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's kind of the shame with now. I'm not saying every movie's like that, but now it's like you take a franchise and kind of just put your own agenda behind it, and it like spoils the whole thing. Kind of like Ghostbusters, the 2016 one, and a whole lot of other films.
And Star Wars too, Disney Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, I never really kept up with Star Wars besides at least the first one, and then I mean, yeah. But I heard after the Last Jedi, I've seen the video essays breaking it down, how it broke continuity, and like how it was just borderline dog water.
Yeah, big time. I mean, if you like the first Transformers, if you've seen the OT, you've seen it all.
Yeah.
And that's another last word I like to put in. It's just like with how inconsequential the Transformers series has been, it's just like it paved way to like where you can have films go as long as they can and be inconsequential as well. Like pretty much like the sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy is best described, in my opinion, as like the Bayformers series without like the potty jokes and the juvenile humor. It's just like yeah, like each film that follows up, there's no like reverence or like connection to the previous movies. It's like everything's reset. Rebels are fighting the Discount Empire, and the Autobots are fighting Decepticons again.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really put my opinion because I don't know too much about the Star Wars franchise, but I mean, I know there was like, at least I've seen a video talking about how before the new stuff, it was basically split the fan base down the middle.
Yeah, they really did because again, it's just like it boils down to the people behind it. Even though the brand recognition really speaks highly in terms of like how much success that they're pulling in. It's just like regardless of quality, people are going to see it because they want to see Luke Skywalker do something, or they want to see Optimus Prime kill Megatron again. It just comes
Definitely.
down to that. And it also comes down to like the people behind it that shouldn't really be helming a particular franchise in the first place. And I think
Yeah.
Hollywood needs to open up and choose carefully on the right people who actually care about the stuff that we like. And it sucks to see that.
Because every
It sucks to
yeah,
see
yeah. I
that.
mean, I agree.
Yeah, and it sucks to see that you have other people behind it and they really did a poor job handling it and just kind of like crushing it to the ground to our horror.
Yeah, everybody wants to have their own cinematic universe nowadays after the money making machine Marvel did. Now, people say after the new stuff they're producing is good, but after Endgame, I kind of haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, I think after WandaVision, I that kind of solidified how I don't really care what the MCU has open. As long as the Doctor Strange 2 movie with Sam Raimi directing is promising, and as long as the third Guardians movie will keep me hooked. But other than that, I just don't care.
Yeah, I can definitely fall behind. Only thing I'm looking forward to is yeah, Doctor Strange too, because I guess there's a potential Spider Verse, and we may get Toby back. And if you get Toby back, I'm sure as hell watching that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of denied it, but you never know. They'll probably just fall back
Yeah.
on it. But yeah, just do you have any closing thoughts before we end this?
In regarding the Transformers movies.
Yeah, regarding any last
Oh,
words you have on
yeah.
Transformers and what you
I
see in
guess
the
my
future.
closing thoughts, and I know we kind of covered this too, is that I believe at least a Transformers movie, especially the first three, set the bar for what CGI should be and what it can accomplish. I feel the Transformers movies were more of a product of what CGI can do than being a product for the fans. I mean, that's they've really. I don't think if we didn't have the advances in Transformers and Iron Man, then we probably wouldn't be seeing stuff that we have today.
Yeah, I agree. I think on a special effects standpoint, I mean, it really it really paved the way for movies, and I would say like I could probably shoot you some stuff about Transformers that I picked up from other YouTubers, but Please Rewind said it best. Is like Transformers, the first movie, was a product of like that aesthetic and style of like the mid to early to late 2000s until filmmakers like John Favreau and Chris Nolan kind of like picked off the Michael Bay wave and did a much more slicker, much more competent style to their movies above special effects compared to Michael Bay. Um,
Yeah, like Dark Knight.
yeah, like Dark Knight and Inception, and you have Favreau directing the first Iron Man, which effects wise it carried out the just a reach of where you can take CGI after the first Transformers.
Yeah,
Um,
man. I mean, those still hold up.
yeah, yeah. Any final thoughts, or should we close this off?
I think we've really covered everything we need to cover, man. And like I said again, really appreciate you,
Yeah, this was
reaching out
a.
and deciding to put me on.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. I'd be happy to keep in touch. But yeah, this was a Bayformers movie in of itself, which has gone
Yeah,
on for like 2.5 hours.
it's a Michael Bay experience.
Yeah, but I would like to leave some closing thoughts. If you guys are, I know you got like a lot of your viewers here off your channel, but for those of you who are watching, if you guys are interested in seeing trans theories content, you're more than welcome to find him on YouTube. He is known for pretty good film theory videos, and he's also in part time a stop motion animator, and he's actually has some Transformers toy short films where he's done some stop motion work on them, and I would probably have to get to watching your stop motion stuff because I only seen some of your film theory videos, and because of time, I haven't gone through everything. But yeah, for anybody who's
No
watching
worries,
this,
man.
yeah, definitely follow Trans Theories off YouTube. He's got like a lot of content on his channel, and as for me, I should be back soon. I'm probably gonna do more gaming streams. I got like a couple thumbnails ready for. I might even do like Jack and Daxter, Medal of Honor, some old retro Star Wars game. But yeah, you folks, whoever's watching, you're more than welcome to follow me on my channel. I am the Madcap speaking, and it's been a great pleasure, Trans, and I do appreciate your time that you were able to um, spend to go live talking about Transformers.
Anytime, man. And anything to help out a fellow content creator.
But yeah, this was a good time, but I think it's time for us to sign off. And it's been a fun time, and hope your Sunday ends well. And I think you're in like you're in the Pacific. You're like in California.
Ellie. Yeah.
Nice. Well, hopefully, the COVID climate has warmed up a bit, considering people are getting vaccinated. But if you have, sir, then I wish you good health.
You too, man. Stay safe and just enjoy what you do, man, and keep it up.
Thank you. And to all my viewers, this is the Madcap signing off, and hope you folks have a good night.
See ya.